By the time Luo Feng realized the golden horned beast was not the most terrifying thing on Earth, he was already bleeding in the ruins of the capital-based city. The monster that had shattered humanity's weapons, survived nuclear fire, and humiliated the strongest warriors on the planet stood only a few meters away. Its dark gold eyes carried the lazy confidence of a predator that had finally cornered its meal. Around the world, billions watched the broadcast in silence. Hong and Thunder God had already burned their lives trying to stop it. The ancient laser cannon had failed, nuclear weapons had failed. Luo Feng had thrown nearly every card he possessed onto the table, and the table had responded by catching fire. The golden horned beast lifted one enormous claw. Then it froze. Something had appeared behind it. At first, Luo Feng thought the blood loss was finally catching up with him. A tall humanoid shape stood in the dust beyond the beast, its body wrapped in darkness and yellow crystal light. It had no heroic cape, no shining human face, no reassuring symbol on its chest. If anything, it looked like the kind of creature that would make a final boss reconsider its career choices. A strange electronic sound rolled across the battlefield. Zetton. The golden horned beast turned so fast that the ground cracked beneath it. For the first time since its arrival on Earth, the creature looked afraid. Not cautious, not irritated, afraid. That single reaction did more damage to humanity's morale than any explosion ever had. If the monster that nearly ended civilization was frightened by this newcomer, then what exactly had just walked onto the battlefield? No one knew. Luo Feng did not know. Babada, who had seen more of the universe than every government on Earth combined, did not know. And that was the problem. Because the creature standing behind the golden horned beast was not a native monster, not a lost cosmic species, and not some mutation born from Earth's changing environment. His name was Yun Shen, and 200 years earlier, he had woken up at the bottom of the Mariana Trench inside a cocoon of blood. That was not his first impossible life. In his original existence, Yun Shen had been human. Then an accident had thrown him into another universe entirely, a world ruled by giants of light, cosmic invaders, and monsters capable of turning cities into footnotes. There, through circumstances so absurd that even he eventually stopped questioning them, he became the legendary Hyper Zetton. Not an ordinary Zetton. Not one of the mass-produced monsters that newer Ultramen could slap around before the commercial break. He became the unique monster whose evolutionary potential came from devouring entire worlds, harvesting life, and refining the fear and despair of intelligent beings. He had even killed the alien who tried to control him. Then he met Saga. That fight did not go nearly as well. Yin Shen had avoided the cheap tricks, survived exchanges that would have erased lesser monsters, and fought long enough to confirm one deeply inconvenient truth. Mysterious Ultramen were mysterious for a reason. Saga eventually destroyed him. Yun Shen expected death. Instead, he got reincarnation with extra paperwork. When consciousness returned, he found himself sealed inside a gigantic blood-red cocoon deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The pressure outside was enough to crush ordinary life into paste. Yet the cocoon simply floated there in the darkness as if the Mariana Trench were a private hotel room. Unfortunately, it was a very boring hotel room. For 200 years, Yun Shen could barely move. His former power was gone. The upper limit of legendary Hyper Zetton still existed somewhere inside him, but almost everything had been knocked back to the beginning. He retained the most important talent of all, unlimited devouring and evolution, but the rest of his abilities needed to be rebuilt through energy, prey, and time. So he waited. Deep-sea fish wandered too close. He ate them. Mutated creatures appeared. He ate them too. Stronger sea monsters arrived over the decades. They became slightly more respectable snacks. The problem was efficiency. Physical matter could feed him, but it was not what legendary Hyper Zetton truly wanted. Flesh, bone, metal, and energy were useful. Despair was better. Far better. Fear and despair did not behave like ordinary matter. They crossed distances, spread through thought, traveled through communication, and carried the concentrated collapse of intelligent minds. The stronger the living being, the more valuable its despair became. Yun Shen had learned this in his previous life. A terrified civilian could provide energy, a terrified warrior could provide more. A terrified cosmic powerhouse who had spent centuries believing himself invincible could provide the emotional equivalent of a premium buffet. Unfortunately, the bottom of the Mariana Trench was not famous for hosting existential crises. So Yun Shen continued sleeping, hunting whatever passed close enough. For his limited feeding tendrils to catch, and calculating how many thousands of years it might take before he could break free. Then, after nearly 2 centuries of silence, despair suddenly poured down from the surface. Yun Shen felt it immediately. The energy was sharp, dense, and far cleaner than anything he had absorbed from the deep sea. Someone powerful was terrified. Then more came, and more. Yun Shen could not see the surface from inside the cocoon, but he did not need eyes to understand one simple fact. Something had gone very wrong for humanity. On the western coast of America, one of Earth's great war bases was discovering exactly how wrong. Humanity had spent years preparing for monsters. The age of mutation had forced every nation to build defenses capable of handling beast kings, ocean emperors, and creatures that could break armored divisions. Fortresses bristled with electromagnetic cannons, aircraft filled the sky, advanced warriors stood ready to fight beings that normal soldiers could not even approach. Then the golden horned beast arrived and made all that preparation look adorable. It was enormous, nearly 200 meters long, wrapped in dark metallic scales, with a golden horn rising from its head like a weapon forged by something that hated architecture. Its mass was absurd. Its speed was worse. A creature weighing hundreds of thousands of tons could accelerate to dozens of times the speed of sound, change direction, and strike before targeting systems finished processing the previous frame. The war base opened fire with almost everything it had. Missiles filled the sky. Lasers cut across the coastline. Electromagnetic weapons hammered the beast from multiple angles. War god-level fighters joined the defense. Henderson used his ice abilities to restrict the monster long enough for the base to concentrate its firepower. For a brief moment, commanders believed they had created an opening. They had not. The golden horn beast did not dodge because it was vulnerable. It dodged because being hit was annoying. Once irritated enough, it stopped pretending the battle mattered. Its body flashed with golden patterns. A terrifying, devouring force spread across the base and the surrounding waters. Metal began to break apart. Weapons dissolved. Vehicles came apart as if invisible hands were turning them into dust. Soldiers wearing metallic armor were dragged into the same destruction. The strongest defensive position in the region collapsed in minutes. Tens of thousands died. Elite warriors fell with them. Only a handful escaped. And as soldiers, commanders, and warriors realized there was no victory waiting for them, their fear and despair sank into the ocean. Straight toward Yun Shen. Inside the cocoon, he felt his energy rise. For the first time in 200 years, he became interested in current events. Unfortunately, he still could not leave. His body remained trapped in the incubation state. One feeding tendril could move. Almost nothing else could. So Yun Shen did the only reasonable thing. He waited for humanity's situation to become worse. It did. The golden horn beast did not stop at one base. It became a disaster greater than every known beast emperor. Ocean monsters and flying beasts moved under its influence. Coastal defenses collapsed. Cities prepared for evacuation. The five great powers convened emergency meetings. And Luo Feng finally gave them the answer no one wanted to hear. This was not an Earth beast. It was a star beast. Worse, it belonged to one of the most powerful bloodlines in the universe. The golden horn beast was still young, but it had already reached the stellar level. Earth's current military strength could not kill it through ordinary means. That statement changed the atmosphere of every strategy room on the planet. There was a difference between facing a terrible enemy and facing an enemy your civilization was not technologically qualified to fight. The first was war. The second was an extinction notice. Luo Feng searched ancient civilization ruins for anything that might produce a weapon strong enough to kill a stellar-level creature. Babida helped him identify technology left behind by civilizations Earth barely understood. Every government prepared for the possibility that no solution existed. Some began civilization inheritance programs. If humanity died, perhaps records could survive. Perhaps children hidden deep enough underground might live. Perhaps someone, somewhere, would remember that billions of people once looked at the stars and believed the future belonged to them. Yun Shen felt every wave of that despair. And his cocoon loved it. The situation briefly stabilized because the golden horned beast, despite its power, was still a growing creature. It ate enormous amounts, then entered periods of rest. Humanity gained small windows to repair, evacuate, and invent new ways to fail. Eventually, desperation produced the nuclear plan. The idea was simple enough to sound intelligent in a meeting. First, send aircraft carrying ordinary nuclear weapons. Detonate them near the golden horned beast repeatedly. Condition the creature to believe nuclear explosions were harmless irritations. Then send the real weapon. A Hong-class fighter would carry an enormous hydrogen bomb directly toward the beast and detonate at point-blank range, preferably near a weak point. The weapon had a yield far beyond ordinary nuclear warheads. Humanity did not need elegance. It needed the universe to briefly forget how durable star beasts were. The operation began over ruined European territory. One aircraft rushed the golden horned beast and exploded. The blast flattened the surrounding city. The beast stood unharmed. A second aircraft followed. Then a third. The golden horned beast gradually stopped reacting. The heat and radiation did not meaningfully damage it. If anything, the energy stimulated its body. Humanity had successfully trained an extinction-level monster to ignore nuclear weapons. The strange part was that no one involved in the operation was foolish. The pilots understood the risk. The planners understood the physics as far as Earth science allowed. The military knew repeated nuclear detonations might accomplish nothing. The operation still happened because when civilization approaches extinction, the difference between a terrible plan and no plan becomes surprisingly important. Every failed detonation created more data. Every piece of data created another theory. Maybe the scales had a thermal limit. Maybe the eyes were softer. Maybe the inside of the mouth lacked the same defensive structure. Maybe repeated radiation would accumulate. Maybe a larger warhead would create internal damage through pressure. Maybe. Humanity had entered the stage of disaster where hope survived primarily through grammar. In underground command centers, engineers argued over numbers until their voices cracked. Scientists recalculated explosive yields they already knew by heart. Politicians demanded probabilities because probabilities sounded more manageable than prayers. The civilians saw only the broadcasts. They watched fighters disappear into bright nuclear spheres. They watched the golden horned beast emerge. They watched analysts explain why the next attempt would be different. Then they watched that attempt fail too. The psychological damage accumulated faster than the physical damage. Yun Shen could feel the difference from beneath the Pacific. Early despair had been sharp and violent. Soldiers facing death produced bursts of concentrated terror. Cities under attack produced chaotic waves. The current emotion was broader. It came from people who had enough time to understand the situation. That mattered. Fear could happen before thought. Despair required conclusion. A person became truly desperate only after imagining possible futures and finding none worth believing in. Yun Shen absorbed that conclusion. The cocoon responded with slow, heavy pulses. He had spent 2 centuries eating whatever the ocean delivered, yet a few days of planetary crisis accomplished more than decades of deep-sea feeding. That discovery changed how he understood his own talent. In his previous life as legendary Zetton, large-scale destruction had generated despair automatically. He had been a weapon of cosmic terror, not a scientist, studying the exact economics of emotion. Now, weakened and forced to rebuild, he could feel the conversion process clearly. A dead creature provided one body. A terrified civilization provided billions of minds reinforcing one another. Communication multiplied emotional density. Images of destroyed bases spread fear to cities that had never seen the golden horned beast. Official warnings gave the fear credibility. Failed counterattacks removed psychological escape routes. Humanity was unknowingly building a worldwide despair engine. Yun Shen was the beneficiary. He did not create the golden horned beast crisis. That distinction mattered to the human part of him. He was exploiting it. That distinction mattered less. Yun Shen understood the moral discomfort and did not waste time pretending it did not exist. If he could have broken free immediately and killed the golden horned beast at the first base, would he have done so? 200 years earlier, when his memories of being human were fresher, the answer might have been yes. Now he was not sure. His body had instincts. Predators measured opportunity differently. Legendary Zetton did not experience despair the way humans did. To his current biology, despair was warmth, nourishment, growth, and possibility. The suffering above did not feel abstractly pleasant to Yun Shen's mind, but the energy entering his body felt undeniably good. That contradiction would follow him far beyond Earth. For now, the cocoon prevented choice. He could not leave even if guilt became unbearable. So he waited and listened to a planet emotionally collapse. On the surface, individual stories unfolded beneath the global numbers. A young pilot selected for one of the nuclear decoy missions recorded a message for his parents and deleted it 3 times. Because each version sounded too much like a goodbye. A veteran war god who had spent years hunting beasts told junior fighters that the golden horned beast could be killed, then walked into an empty corridor and stood with his hands shaking against the wall. A shelter manager in Europe lied about the facility's food reserves because telling thousands of civilians they had 3 days of supplies would cause panic, before hunger ever became the real problem. A mother in Asia watched the same broadcast on a small screen while packing documents, water, and children's clothes into a bag she knew could not protect anyone from a stellar-level monster. None of them knew their fear traveled. None knew something beneath the ocean was feeding on it, and none knew that the same creature benefiting from their despair would eventually become the reason they survived. That contradiction gave the coming rescue its unsettling edge. Yun Shen was not a hidden saint. He was not secretly suffering because he could not save everyone. He was patient, he calculated, he absorbed. And when the cocoon finally opened, he intended to act according to his own rules, not humanity's expectations. The golden horned beast, meanwhile, grew more confident after surviving the nuclear operation. Its intelligence was high enough to learn from human behavior. The creature did not understand every detail of Earth's technology, but it understood threat patterns. The bright explosions hurt less than expected. The flying machines were fragile. The warriors were weaker. The civilization was noisy. Most importantly, the civilization was running out of surprises. A predator became more dangerous once it stopped respecting the prey's unknown possibilities. That was why the B-6 laser cannon mattered so much. It was not just another weapon. It was the last opportunity to make the golden horned beast wrong. It was not the kind of achievement anyone planned to put on a monument. Then the Hong-class fighter arrived. The larger hydrogen bomb detonated at close range. Night became day. The sky turned white. Communications failed across a huge region as electromagnetic interference spread outward. The blast was so large that people hundreds of kilometers away saw a second sun rising over Europe. For several seconds, no one knew the result. Then surveillance returned. The golden horned beast was still alive. A small wound had opened on its body. Purple-black blood leaked out. For one desperate second, people cheered. They had hurt it. That meant it could be hurt. Then the wound closed. Completely. The cheering stopped. The golden horned beast roared, launched into the sky, and vanished. No one in the command rooms needed an explanation. It was angry now. And when it returned, it would not be experimenting with humanity anymore. Across the planet, shelters filled. Governments activated final emergency protocols. Civilians crowded underground facilities. Families said goodbyes without saying the word goodbye. The despair pouring toward the Mariana Trench multiplied. Inside the blood cocoon, Yun Shen felt the barrier around him tremble. For the first time in 200 years, freedom was close enough to touch. But before that moment arrived, another person crossed the Mariana Trench and nearly discovered exactly what humanity was accidentally feeding. Luo Feng was traveling underwater toward an ancient civilization ruin. His purpose was simple: find technology capable of killing the golden horned beast. His route took him through the deepest part of the trench. As his weapon platform cut through the darkness, he glanced downward. That casual glance almost changed everything. His spiritual force spread into the abyss. Then he saw the cocoon. A gigantic blood-red structure floated where nothing that large should have been alive. Inside, a monstrous silhouette rested in silence. Even without fully understanding the creature, Luo Feng could tell its scale was wrong. Too large. Too dense. Too stable under pressure that would destroy ordinary life. Babata analyzed it. The answer did not comfort him. The cocoon appeared biological, insect-like, and completely unknown. Its structural strength already exceeded what Babata expected from the golden horned beast. Fortunately, the creature was still incubating. Babata estimated it might require thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, of years to emerge naturally. By then, if Luo Feng survived humanity's current crisis and followed the path Babata envisioned, he would be strong enough to deal with it. So Luo Feng left. He categorized the thing in the trench as a future problem. Inside the cocoon, Yun Shen watched him go and almost laughed. He recognized Luo Feng instantly. That recognition gave Yun Shen something almost as valuable as power, context. Until that moment, he had known only that Earth contained monsters, advanced warriors, and technology, unlike his original human world. The setting could have been one of countless universes. Seeing Luo Feng collapse the uncertainty immediately, Yun Shen remembered enough of Swallowed Star to understand the broad future. Earth was only the beginning. The real stage stretched across star systems, human empires, ancient races, virtual battlefields, secret inheritances, immortal beings, and powers that treated ordinary planets as insignificant property. More importantly, Luo Feng was not a side character wandering through that structure. He was the center of one of its most explosive growth paths. That changed Yun Shen's planning. If this had been an unknown universe, caution would require exploration before aggression. He would need to learn local power levels through dangerous trial and error. Here, he possessed a rough map, not a perfect map. Memory of a story did not provide exact coordinates, hidden conversations, or guaranteed timing. Yun Shen also knew his own presence had already changed events simply by existing beneath the sea. Still, knowing the names of major threats was better than walking blind. Golden Horned Beast, Virtual Universe Company, Zuoshan Ke, Universe Genius Battle, the Cosmic Cultivation Ladder. Each remembered concept became a warning sign or opportunity marker. Yun Shen immediately rejected the stupidest possible use of future knowledge. He would not chase every treasure Luo Feng was supposed to find. That strategy worked only in stories where stealing the protagonist's opportunity did not attract the attention of the people who placed it there. This universe contained planners powerful enough to notice. Yun Shen preferred opportunities created by his own biology. He did not need most treasures. He could devour talents. He could refine matter. He could feed on despair. The universe itself was the inheritance. Luo Feng therefore became more useful alive and developing normally than robbed and derailed. A growing protagonist also functioned as a weather forecast for major events. Where Luo Feng went, important conflicts tended to appear. Where important conflicts appeared, strong emotions followed. Yun Shen had no intention of following him everywhere like a parasite. He simply appreciated predictable storms. At the bottom of the trench, the realization also made waiting easier. Before identifying the world, 200 years of weakness had felt like meaningless delay. Now Yun Shen could see direction beyond the cocoon. Break free. Take the golden horned beast's useful talent if possible. Avoid attracting top-level powers. Gain cosmic identity. Enter the virtual universe. Use major public conflicts to test emotional harvesting. Then leave the small pond before the pond's owners decided to examine him too closely. The plan was crude. It was enough. For the first time since Saga destroyed him, Yun Shen did not merely believe he would recover. He could imagine the route. He recognized Babata's style of analysis. He recognized the universe. This was Swallowed Star. That realization should have frightened him. Instead, it made him excited. The original universe was filled with intelligent civilizations, powerful races, ancient bloodlines, endless battlefields, and strong beings who had spent millions of years building confidence. In other words, it was full of food. And unlike his previous life, there were no mysterious Ultramen waiting around every corner to punch him into another reincarnation cycle. At least, not immediately. Yun Shen reviewed what remained of legendary Hyper Zetton's original potential. His peak had been monstrous. The version destroyed by Saga had possessed abilities that ordinary creatures in this universe would struggle even to classify. Unlimited devouring, talent absorption, light reflection, instant movement, cloning, dark fireballs with absurd destructive potential, the ability to turn consumed beings into controlled battle units. Most of it was currently sealed behind weakness, but the ceiling remained. He did not need to rebuild himself through conventional cultivation. He needed to eat. The original universe had never looked more beautiful. Beauty, in Yun Shen's current vocabulary, had become dangerously practical. A normal traveler might look at a universe full of civilizations and imagine discovery. Yun Shen imagined diversity of abilities. Different bloodlines meant different talents. Different cultivation systems meant different ways of interacting with energy, matter, space, soul, and law. Every unusual life form represented information his devouring nature might absorb. Every powerful warrior represented a test. Every arrogant genius represented emotional potential. That did not mean Yun Shen intended to attack everything he saw. Predation without selection was another form of stupidity. Some beings were too strong. Some factions were too connected. Some prey would create consequences worth more than the meal. His survival strategy therefore depended on understanding value and risk together. The golden horned beast was almost ideal. It threatened Earth directly, so killing it aligned with the human part of Yun Shen's priorities. Its devouring specialization complemented his own talent. Its current strength was safely below his post-incubation combat level, and the entire planet already wanted it dead. No political investigation would ask why Zetton had eaten the apocalypse. Future prey would not always be so convenient. Yun Shen knew the universe's strongest civilizations, possessed legal systems, military hierarchies, intelligence networks, and ancient experts who could trace patterns across absurd distances. One missing warrior might be ignored. One missing planet might be investigated. A sequence of vanished geniuses could become a hunt. That meant his evolution could not rely on appetite alone. He would need secrecy, timing, misdirection, and sometimes restraint. The thought would have sounded strange coming from a creature whose signature attack could destroy planets. Yun Shen considered it common sense. A larger gun did not remove the need to know who owned the battlefield. He had learned that lesson against Saga. Power could feel absolute right until something above the scale arrived. He had no desire to receive that lesson a third time. Luo Feng continued toward the ruins, unaware that the monster he had mentally scheduled for 10,000 years later was currently absorbing humanity's apocalypse in real time. And humanity was about to give Yun Shen the largest meal of his new life. The golden horned beast returned, before humanity had time to enjoy even the illusion of safety. It surfaced from the Antarctic waters, tore across the sky, and drove beast tides toward populated regions as if the planet itself had become a weapon. Every nation understood the message. The creature had survived humanity's strongest bomb, and now it wanted the species responsible to understand the difference between resistance and inconvenience. Luo Feng, however, had returned from the ancient ruins with one last card, a B6 grade laser cannon. Compared with Earth's weapons, it was not simply advanced. It belonged to another technological civilization entirely. Babata believed a clean hit could kill a normal stellar-level target several stages above the golden horned beast's current level. For the first time since the crisis began, the plan did not depend on hoping the enemy would forget to be durable. The cannon was real. The power was real. The only problem was hitting the target. A repair robot was assigned to fire it because machines did not panic, hesitate, or discover religion when a star beast charged toward them. Every surviving senior official watched the targeting feed. Every major base waited for the countdown. The golden horned beast crossed the designated kill zone. The robot fired. A white beam tore across the atmosphere. The shot struck the beast's head dead center. For one astonishing moment, the impossible finally happened. The golden horned beast's head exploded. Its enormous body lost control and crashed toward the ground. Across Earth, people screamed in celebration. Officers who had not slept properly in days laughed like children. Bottles were opened in command centers. Soldiers embraced strangers. Some people simply sat down and cried because they had forgotten what relief felt like. Humanity had killed it. Then someone dropped a glass. The sound cut through one command room with ridiculous clarity. On the screen, golden energy was gathering around the corpse. The head was growing back, not healing slowly, reforming. Bone, tissue, scales, and horn regenerated with horrifying speed. The golden horned beast stood. The celebration died before the drinks had time to stop fizzing. Babata finally understood the mistake. The creature's true life core was not its brain. The golden horned beast possessed an internal world, centered around a life nucleus. Destroying the head was spectacular, but spectacle and death were not the same thing. As long as the life core remained intact, the beast could rebuild itself by absorbing energy. Humanity had used its only weapon capable of cleanly penetrating the monster's defenses. The golden horned beast stepped forward and destroyed the laser cannon. That was it. No second shot, no replacement, no hidden warehouse containing a convenient backup because reality had suddenly become kind. The final technological solution was gone. Hong stood. Thunder God stood beside him. Neither man needed to explain what came next. They were the strongest warriors Earth had produced before Luo Feng's explosive rise. Both understood domains. Both had pushed themselves beyond what ordinary planetary warriors could imagine. Against the golden horned beast, their normal strength was still insufficient, so they decided not to fight normally. They would burn everything. Life force, soul power, potential, future. If there was a victory available somewhere beyond survival, they would pay for it with the years they no longer expected to live. No one tried to stop them. That silence said more than any heroic speech could have. The two men departed under global observation. They intercepted the golden horned beast over the Pacific. For the first time, the monster met opponents willing to destroy themselves faster than it could destroy them. Hong's domain expanded. Thunder God's lightning erupted. The weapons Luo Feng had provided from extraterrestrial technology gave them a chance to actually penetrate the beast's defenses. Then both men ignited their lives. Their strength surged. The cost was visible even before the first exchange. Hong's aura became brighter while his life became thinner. Thunder God's lightning sharpened into a violent blue-white glow, but strands of hair lost color almost immediately. Their bodies were spending tomorrow to purchase seconds today. The golden horned beast sensed the increase and finally stopped treating them like ordinary prey. Its wings unfolded. The sea below collapsed outward under the pressure. Hong attacked from the left, while Thunder God came from above. Neither tried to fight, according to the elegant rhythm of a duel. They had already accepted that surviving the battle was unlikely. Efficiency mattered more than style. Hong's spear struck first. The golden horned beast twisted, and the weapon scraped across its armored scales with a sound like metal tearing across a fortress wall. Sparks exploded. The beast's tail swept toward Hong's torso. Hong folded backward just enough to survive, then used the momentum to rotate around the creature's flank. Thunder God dropped like a lightning bolt, his blade carved into a joint beneath one wing. Blood appeared. For the first time, the golden horned beast was being forced to defend continuously against human bodies rather than machines. The global audience reacted instantly. Hope returned because people did not see the price clearly. They saw Hong moving faster than ever. They saw Thunder God cutting flesh. They saw the golden horned beast roar. They did not feel the years disappearing from the two men with every exchange. Luo Feng did. He watched the life signatures and understood exactly what his seniors were buying. Seconds. That made the battle more painful to watch than a simple defeat. Hong and Thunder God were not failing because they lacked courage. They were succeeding as much as their bodies possibly could, and success was still not enough. The golden horned beast accelerated. The battle crossed from sea to sky in an instant. Thunder God chased it through clouds, leaving a bright arc of electricity behind him. Hong followed through the wake, domain pressed tightly around his body to reduce the difference in speed. They collided above the atmosphere. The curvature of Earth appeared beneath them. The golden horned beast rammed Hong with one shoulder. Hong's defensive layer shattered. He rolled through vacuum, recovered, and returned without hesitation. Thunder God struck the beast's horn. His weapon screamed under the impact. Neither side had time to breathe. The golden horned beast's advantages were obvious. Its body was stronger. Its energy reserves were deeper. Its recovery was superior. Its bloodline gave it instincts designed for cosmic survival. Hong and Thunder God possessed one temporary advantage. They were willing to spend themselves completely. That made them unpredictable. A normal warrior protected vital organs because surviving mattered. Thunder God accepted a claw through his defense to create an opening for Hong. Hong allowed his shoulder to be crushed rather than abandon an attack on the creature's abdomen. The golden horned beast had fought beasts willing to die. It had not expected intelligent opponents to calculate self-destruction as a resource. Its frustration grew. That frustration became fear only later, but Yun Shen tasted the first change from below the sea. Interesting. Even the golden horned beast could produce useful negative emotion. The realization made Yun Shen pay closer attention. The creature was not merely prey for flesh and talent. Its mind had value too. Above the atmosphere, Thunder God laughed after another near-fatal exchange. The sound was not carefree. It was the laugh of a man who had already accepted the invoice and no longer cared about the price. Hong remained quieter. His face showed the same decision. If they could open the golden horned beast's internal world, if they could damage the life nucleus, if they could create even one opportunity for Luo Feng or humanity afterward, then their lives were acceptable payment. The golden horned beast opened its mouth. The devouring force began. That was the moment Hong had been waiting for. He released the dense alien metal. To ordinary observers, it looked absurd. A cloud of wreckage and metallic fragments poured into the monster's mouth voluntarily. The golden horned beast swallowed through instinct, then immediately realized the trap. Its internal world filled. The material was too dense and too difficult to process quickly. Its strongest talent choked on abundance. Thunder God's eyes lit up. Hong did not smile. Both men attacked. This time they committed everything. The merged strike carried not only their techniques, but the final concentration of their burning lives. The golden horned beast tried to turn. Too late. The attack penetrated the abdomen. For a moment, the entire battlefield vanished inside light. Yun Shen felt the resulting burst of emotion from millions watching the feed. Hope, shock, desperation. It was almost amusing how quickly the same human mind could move between them. Then, the golden horned beast survived again. The emotional direction reversed. Yun Shen absorbed that too. Planetary-level bodies forced themselves toward power approaching the stellar threshold. The price was immediate. Every second consumed what should have been years. But for those seconds, they fought. The three figures crossed vast distances in moments. Ocean waves split beneath them. Clouds tore apart. Shock waves rolled across coastlines. To civilians watching through satellite feeds, the battle barely looked physical. It was three streaks of impossible light colliding across the sky. Hong and Thunder God were still weaker, but they had a plan. When the golden horned beast opened its mouth to use its devouring talent, Hong released huge quantities of dense alien metal from spatial storage. The beast swallowed instinctively. That instinct nearly killed it. Its internal world had limited capacity at this stage of development. The foreign metal was extraordinarily dense and difficult to digest. The more it swallowed, the less room it had to use its strongest devouring ability. For once, the monster's appetite became a weakness. Hong and Thunder God attacked together. Their domains merged. Every remaining fragment of their strength converged into one strike. The attack tore into the golden horned beast's abdomen and blasted through its body. Blood exploded across the sky. For a heartbeat, victory looked possible. Then the beast counterattacked. Thunder God was cut apart. Hong suffered catastrophic injuries. Both men kept moving. That was the frightening part. They had already passed the point where survival made biological sense. Their bodies were ruins. Their souls were burning. Yet they continued trying to reach the life core inside the golden horned beast. Under the original path of events, this should have become a final battle of mutual destruction. But the golden horned beast suddenly stopped. Its instincts screamed. Not because of Hong, not because of Thunder God, because of something far away. The beast turned its senses toward the western Pacific, toward the Mariana Trench. It could not identify the source. It could not see Yun Shen through the ocean and the cocoon. It only knew that somewhere in that direction existed something that made the ancient instincts of a peak starbeast bloodline demand caution. That single sensation changed the battle. The golden horned beast was intelligent enough to calculate. Hong and Thunder God were dying. Their current strength came from burning themselves alive. Why trade injuries with two enemies who would collapse on their own? The beast turned and fled. Hong cursed and chased. Thunder God followed despite being nearly dead. The golden horned beast increased its speed. The distance widened. Humanity watched in confusion. Civilians saw their heroes driving the monster away and thought perhaps the battle had turned. Warriors understood the truth. Time favored the monster. It only had to keep running. Thunder God fell first. His burned soul entered a death-like suspended state. His mutilated body dropped from the sky. Hong turned back to catch him, and that decision pushed Hong beyond his own limit. The golden horned beast stopped retreating. It had been waiting for exactly this. Then silver figures appeared. Luo Feng's mechanical guards intercepted the beast and bought enough time to extract Hong and Thunder God. They were saved. Humanity was not. The golden horned beast remained alive. Its injuries were already recovering. The laser cannon was gone. The two strongest established warriors on Earth had burned themselves into near death. The world watched the monster return to the sky and finally understood that every heroic effort had merely delayed the same ending. That despair was different from panic. Panic was noisy. This was quiet. It was the moment people stopped asking how humanity might win and started asking what they should do before civilization ended. Parents recorded messages for children. Soldiers checked ammunition they knew would not matter. Officials considered evacuation plans with nowhere meaningful to evacuate. Luo Feng refused Babata's suggestion to flee Earth with his family. Babata argued that Luo Feng could preserve humanity's legacy. If Earth died but Luo Feng survived, the civilization would not vanish completely. Luo Feng would not accept it. He could not leave billions behind and call survival a victory. Inside the Mariana Trench, Yun Shen nearly laughed from sheer satisfaction. The despair arriving now was on another level. It did not come from one base or one army. It came from a planet. The cocoon pulsed. Cracks began forming across its surface. 200 years of waiting suddenly compressed into minutes. Yun Shen did not hold back. His devouring ability expanded across the emotional current. Terror, hopelessness, grief, rage, and the quiet certainty of extinction became fuel. The blood cocoon brightened. One crack became hundreds. The bottom of the Mariana Trench began to shake. Then the shell broke. Yun Shen opened his eyes. The ocean around him seemed small. He raised one arm and struck the remaining wall of the cocoon. It shattered into countless glowing fragments. Legendary Hyper Zetton emerged. After 2 centuries buried beneath the sea, Yun Shen finally moved freely again. The sensation alone almost made him forget the apocalypse happening overhead. He stretched. The movement displaced the water with such force that the trench shook. A casual release of power split the seabed and sent violent currents outward. Yun Shen checked himself. His strength was nowhere near his former peak. That would have bothered almost anyone else. Yun Shen was delighted. His upper limit had not vanished. Legendary Hyper Zetton's devouring evolution remained intact. There was no conventional bottleneck waiting for him. No requirement to spend 10,000 years meditating under a tree until the universe approved his paperwork. He needed energy. He needed prey. The original universe had both. His current power was roughly equivalent to a high universe-level existence by the standards available to him. Compared with his former state, it was embarrassing. Compared with Earth, it was catastrophic. He also noticed something else. He had emerged directly in his refined humanoid combat form rather than repeating the bulky developmental stages normal Hyper Zetton evolution might involve. That made sense. This was not a first birth. It was reconstruction. His body remembered what it was supposed to become. Yun Shen flexed his hands. The dark armor, yellow crystals, and compact frame felt natural in a way the giant cocoon never had. Then he looked toward the Chinese capital-based city. Dinner was waiting. The golden horned beast had chosen that city as the target of its revenge. It had already gathered beast hordes around the walls. Dozens of king-level monsters surrounded the city but refused to advance because their ruler wanted the first kill for itself. Inside the base, Luo Feng stood with Earth's remaining high-level warriors. His situation had changed since Hong and Thunder God fell. Luo Feng was now Earth's strongest active combatant. That title would have felt better if it had not arrived approximately 5 minutes before extinction. He possessed 2 mechanical guards with stellar-grade defensive strength. They could restrain the golden horned beast but lacked the offensive power to kill it. His own spiritual weapons could hurt lesser beast emperors, but against this opponent, the gap remained severe. Still, Luo Feng would fight. His wife Su Xin was pregnant with twins. That fact made him value life more, not less. He did not stand on the wall because he wanted a glorious death. He stood there because death was coming, whether anyone wanted glory or not. The golden horned beast arrived like a dark gold meteor. The air exploded around it. The city shook. It stopped outside the walls and stared at the human warriors with obvious contempt. The creature wanted them to understand what was about to happen. It wanted revenge to have an audience. Luo Feng attacked first. He had no reason to believe the first strike would win. That was not the point. The golden horned beast had chosen the capital as a stage for revenge. It had ordered the surrounding beast tide to remain outside because it wanted the kill for itself. That arrogance created the only tactical advantage humanity still possessed. The battlefield was temporarily controlled. No thousands of monsters flooding the streets. No civilians being torn apart while warriors tried to reach the main enemy. One target, one final chance. Luo Feng used it. The two silver guards accelerated from either side. Their combat intelligence was limited compared with a true warrior, but their bodies possessed stellar-grade durability. They did not need to kill the golden horned beast. They only needed to make its movements less perfect. The first collision worked. Metallic arms locked against the creature's forelimbs. The golden horned beast snarled and tried to tear free. For several seconds, it could not. Luo Feng's mind became frighteningly calm. Pain, fear, and the knowledge that billions watched disappeared behind calculation. Distance, angle, abdominal injury, head movement, wing position. He released the cutting disc first. The weapon expanded into a rotating blade large enough to threaten beast emperors. It curved toward the golden horned beast's head from an angle designed to force movement. The drilling weapon followed toward the damaged abdomen. Luo Feng did not expect either attack to kill instantly. He wanted layered pressure. If the beast defended its head, the abdomen opened. If it protected the abdomen, the cutting disc gained position. The remaining human warriors understood the rhythm and attacked simultaneously. Energy techniques crossed the air. Weapons struck scales. For several seconds, humanity looked organized enough to matter. Inside shelters, people shouted Luo Feng's name. The broadcast commentators spoke too quickly. Every visible hit became evidence that survival remained possible. Yun Shen watched from concealment and absorbed the emotional contrast. Humans produced stronger despair when hope appeared first. That lesson repeated again and again. A mine could fall only from somewhere above zero. The golden horned beast supplied the fall. Its wings exploded outward. The resulting shockwave hit the surrounding human warriors first. Most had no time to defend properly. Bodies flew. Several crashed through structures. The coordinated ring broke. Luo Feng kept control of his weapons. The golden horned beast opened its jaws and caught the cutting disc. The image looked impossible. A weapon designed to slice through powerful monsters became trapped between teeth. Luo Feng forced spiritual energy into the disc and tried to pull it free. The beast bit harder. Metal screamed. Then the creature rotated. Its huge wings turned the body into a living storm. The silver guards lost their grip. One slammed into the ground. The other was thrown across the battlefield. Luo Feng's drilling weapon approached the abdomen and was knocked away by the spinning wing. In seconds, his layered attack collapsed. The golden horned beast stopped being restrained. Luo Feng lost the tools that had created the opening. Babata shouted a warning. Too late. The beast's rotation had increased its movement speed beyond Luo Feng's immediate reaction capacity. A golden horn filled his vision. Then impact. The world became noise. Luo Feng's defensive equipment absorbed enough force to prevent his chest from being completely pierced, but the remaining energy still threw him through buildings. Walls shattered around him. Concrete collapsed. He hit the ground below street level and disappeared inside dust. For a second, the global feed showed nothing but debris. Xu Xin watched from safety with one hand pressed unconsciously against her abdomen. She was carrying twins. The man on the screen was her husband. The warrior in the crater was humanity's strongest remaining defender. Those two identities collided brutally. She wanted him alive. The world needed him fighting. No heroic slogan resolved that conflict. Across the planet, other families experienced smaller versions of the same feeling. People wanted Luo Feng to stand, because if he did not, the golden horned beast would reach them eventually. They also understood that standing again might kill him. The dust moved. Luo Feng rose. Not with muscle. His body was too damaged. Spiritual force wrapped around him and forced movement. His bones did not want to make. Blood ran from his mouth. His breathing was wrong. He still stood. The broadcast erupted with desperate cheering. Yun Shen felt the emotional spike. The golden horned beast felt something else. Amusement. The human was hurt. The machines were scattered. The other warriors had been thrown aside. The creature understood victory. That made it slow down. If it had attacked at full speed immediately, Yun Shen would have intervened sooner. Instead, the golden horned beast wanted performance. It landed on the city wall and looked down at Luo Feng. Then it stepped into the base. One foot destroyed part of the road. A wing sliced through a building. The creature walked rather than flew. Every step appeared on cameras worldwide. The message was clear even without language. Your strongest fighter cannot stop me. Your city is mine. Your species is next. That display generated exactly the despair Yun Shen had expected. He remained hidden. The decision would have horrified Luo Feng if revealed at that moment. Yun Shen understood the golden horned beast would not kill Luo Feng instantly. The creature's posture made its intention obvious. It wanted revenge slowly. That created a margin. Yun Shen used the margin. He monitored Luo Feng's condition. Still alive. The golden horned beast moved closer. Still not striking. The global emotional field thickened. Yun Shen absorbed. One part of him recognized the coldness of the act. Another part considered it no different from waiting for fruit to ripen before picking it. That comparison disturbed the human memory inside him. The monster body found nothing unusual about it. Yun Shen was becoming comfortable with contradictions. Luo Feng looked up at the approaching beast. He searched for another tactic. The silver guards were recovering but too far away to intervene before the next strike. His main weapons were displaced. His body had reached its limit. He considered self-destructive options. Babada calculated escape routes and rejected them one after another. The golden horned beast stopped within 10 meters. That distance was absurdly close for a creature of its size. It lowered its head. Dark gold eyes met Luo Feng's. The intelligence there was unmistakable. The beast knew he understood. It raised one claw. Around the world, noise disappeared. The broadcast remained live, but people stopped speaking. Some turned away, others could not. Luo Feng's family watched. Warriors who had fought beside him watched. Government leaders watched. Hong and Thunder God, still recovering, were unable to change the scene. For one terrible instant, humanity prepared to witness the death of its last active champion. Then, Luo Feng saw a yellow light behind the beast. He almost dismissed it as damage to his vision. The light remained. A humanoid outline emerged inside dust. No footsteps announced arrival. No aircraft entered the area. No energy signature approached from the horizon. The figure was simply there. Yun Shen had chosen the exact moment when the golden horned beast believed itself completely victorious. That timing mattered for more than drama. The beast's confidence had reached maximum height. The fall would be better. The electronic sound rolled across the ruins. Zetton. Luo Feng heard a name. The golden horned beast heard a warning. Its claw stopped above him. Every muscle tightened. The creature turned. The transformation in posture was so extreme that even ordinary civilians recognized it. Seconds earlier, the golden horned beast had looked like a king deciding how to kill a prisoner. Now, it looked like prey that had heard movement behind the grass. That was the hook. Humanity could not escape. If this newcomer could terrify the golden horned beast before throwing a single attack, then whatever came next would redefine the entire crisis. The two silver mechanical guards slammed into the golden horned beast and locked down its movement. The strategy worked better than anyone expected. At its current injured state, the beast could not easily destroy the machines. That gave Luo Feng an opening. He unleashed his strongest spiritual weapons. A huge cutting disc tore toward the monster's head. Another weapon drilled toward the damaged abdomen. The remaining human warriors attacked from the sides. For a few seconds, it looked like coordinated resistance could matter. The golden horned beast proved otherwise. It roared and released a violent shockwave from its wings, scattering most of the human fighters. Then it caught Luo Feng's cutting weapon in its jaws. The beast rotated its enormous body. The move was ugly, instinctive, and brutally effective. The mechanical guards were thrown away. Luo Feng's weapons lost their angles. The golden horned beast accelerated beyond Luo Feng's reaction speed and struck him with its horn. The impact sent Luo Feng through the city. His armor and defensive equipment prevented immediate death, but bones broke and organs shifted. He crashed into ruins hard enough to crater the ground. For the first time, the broadcast showed Earth's last hope lying in dust beneath the beast. Worldwide fear surged again. Yun Shen felt it from far away. He could have appeared immediately. He did not. He had already reached the battlefield. He remained hidden. That decision would have looked monstrous if anyone knew about it. Yun Shen saw it differently. The golden horned beast had temporarily stopped the surrounding. Beast tied. Civilians were not being slaughtered in large numbers at that exact moment. Luo Feng was injured but alive. Meanwhile, billions of people were watching one monster slowly approach the man they believed was their final protector. The emotional energy was extraordinary. Yun Shen allowed the scene to continue. He did not intend to let the golden horned beast actually kill Luo Feng. He simply refused to waste premium despair because humanity preferred its rescues to arrive on time. The golden horned beast stepped over broken streets. Every footfall shook buildings. It approached Luo Feng slowly, enjoying the performance. Luo Feng forced himself upright with spiritual power because his body barely responded. He looked at the creature towering over him and knew he had run out of practical options. The monster raised its claw. Yun Shen finally moved. He appeared behind it without crossing the distance between. Instant movement. One moment, the space was empty. The next, legendary Hyper Zetton stood there. Luo Feng saw him first. Then came the sound. Zetton. The golden horned beast stiffened. Its bloodline instincts recognized danger long before its mind understood the reason. It turned. The arrogant predator vanished from its posture. For the first time, the creature faced something it could not classify above itself. Around the world, the same thought spread almost simultaneously. This was worse. Luo Feng felt the terror in the golden horned beast and reached the same conclusion. Babada compared the energy signature with the cocoon discovered in the Mariana Trench. The match was strong. The future problem had arrived several thousand years early. Humanity had spent days trying to survive one cosmic monster. Now a second one stood on the battlefield, and the first monster looked like it wanted permission to leave. Yun Shen silently studied the golden horned beast. He had seen this creature through the story before entering this world, but seeing it as prey was different. Its bloodline was excellent. Its devouring ability was valuable. Its internal world talent had enormous future potential. Most importantly, it was afraid. Yun Shen could taste that fear. The golden horned beast attacked first. That decision was partly instinct and partly terror. Predators understood hesitation as weakness, and the golden horned beast had spent its entire life learning that aggression solved uncertainty. When something unknown threatened it, the bloodline response was simple. Attack before the danger became clearer. The golden beam was not a casual warning. It was a real killing move. The energy tore through the air with enough force to erase ordinary warriors from the battlefield. Luo Feng had faced similar attacks and knew that even surviving the edge of one required preparation. Yun Shen let it come. That stillness disturbed Luo Feng more than a defensive technique would have. Anyone could be brave when confident in armor. Yun Shen did not appear to defend at all. The beam vanished before touching him. For 1 second, the golden horned beast stared at the empty space where its attack should have continued. Then the reflected blast struck back. The beast's head exploded open again. This was not the same experience as the B6 laser. The laser had been a weapon. A weapon could be destroyed. A weapon could miss. A weapon could be explained. Yun Shen had taken the golden horned beast's own attack, ignored it, and returned something stronger without appearing to exert himself. The creature's mind searched for a framework. Energy shield? Spatial transfer? Absorption? Reflection? It could not tell. That uncertainty mattered because the golden horned beast was not stupid. It possessed high intelligence, even if its behavior often looked animalistic. Intelligent fear was more dangerous than instinctive fear, because the mind kept creating new possibilities. What if every ranged attack returned stronger? What if physical attacks failed too? What if the strange creature had deliberately waited until now? What if it had been watching the entire crisis? The golden horned beast regenerated enough of its head to roar. Then it charged. The first rush crossed the distance faster than almost any human camera could follow. Yun Shen moved nowhere. The beast's horn reached him. Yun Shen disappeared. The golden horned beast crashed through empty ground. It turned immediately. Yun Shen stood behind it. The beast attacked with its tail. Empty air. Yun Shen reappeared on the opposite side. Another charge, another disappearance. The pattern looked almost insulting. Luo Feng, however, was not laughing. He understood the gap too well. Speed could be trained against. Movement could be predicted. Techniques had habits. Yun Shen's instantaneous relocation provided none of those things. Babata tried to detect spatial fluctuations and found behavior that did not match local cultivation methods. That failure bothered him more each time. The universe had rules. Strong beings bent them. Yun Shen seemed to arrive with a separate instruction manual. The golden horned beast grew furious. It spread its wings and accelerated into the rotating charge that had previously overwhelmed Luo Feng. Its enormous body became a dark gold storm. Shock waves tore apart the battlefield. Buildings already damaged by the earlier fight collapsed completely. Against Luo Feng, the technique had been devastating because the rotating body increased speed beyond his reaction limit. Against Yun Shen, it solved nothing. The beast reached the point where Yun Shen stood. Yun Shen vanished. The golden horned beast buried itself in the ground. Yun Shen appeared several dozen meters away. The beast tore itself free and launched again. Yun Shen moved again. The creature screamed. The sound contained more than rage now. Yun Shen tasted fear. He deliberately allowed the golden horned beast to see him remain within reach. That was important. If he simply teleported far away, the creature might conclude escape was possible. Instead, Yun Shen always reappeared nearby, close enough to attack, close enough to threaten, close enough to remind the golden horned beast that distance was no longer protection. The predator started understanding the trap. It could choose where to attack. It could not choose whether Yun Shen was there afterward. That realization intensified the despair. Yun Shen's emotional organ absorbed the energy continuously. He learned through sensation how the golden horned beast's fear changed texture. At first, the emotion had been biological alarm, then frustration, then uncertainty, then the beginning of helplessness. Each stage became denser. Yun Shen reduced offensive pressure intentionally. He wanted the mind to finish the process. Around the world, human viewers interpreted the same scene through a different emotional lens. Some celebrated every time the golden horned beast missed. They hated the creature enough that seeing it humiliated felt satisfying, even if the thing humiliating it might become worse. Others became more frightened. The stronger Yun Shen looked, the less meaningful. Humanity's survival seemed to depend on human effort. Civilization had not defeated the golden horned beast. Another monster had arrived and claimed the right to decide what happened next. That distinction hurt. Luo Feng experienced both reactions at once. He wanted the golden horned beast dead. He also wanted some proof that humanity still controlled its own future. Yun Shen gave him the first and threatened the second. The golden horned beast changed tactics. Instead of attacking Yun Shen directly, it launched into the sky. Flight became retreat. The creature accelerated toward the horizon. Yun Shen watched. For several seconds, he did not follow. Hope entered the beast's emotional output. Then Yun Shen appeared in front of it. The golden horned beast stopped so violently that the air detonated around its body. It changed direction. Yun Shen appeared there too. Downward, blocked, upward, blocked, ocean, blocked. The beast finally understood. There was no direction called away. Yun Shen had removed geography from the problem. The golden horned beast's body remained powerful, but its posture changed. Wings pulled closer. Movements lost confidence. The creature began measuring every action against the expectation that it would fail. That psychological collapse fascinated Yun Shen. In battle, physical injury was visible. Mental defeat was quieter. The body still possessed strength. The mind stopped, believing strength mattered. Yun Shen stepped forward. The golden horned beast backed away. The global audience noticed. This creature had never retreated from humans except strategically. Now it retreated from a walking opponent who had barely attacked. Yun Shen released one small dark fireball. It struck near the beast rather than directly. The explosion carved a massive crater. He wanted the golden horn beast to understand that teleportation was not his only advantage. The effect was immediate. Fear spiked. Yun Shen absorbed it. The beast tried one final beam. Yun Shen reflected it. It tried a physical charge. Yun Shen vanished. It tried escaping. Yun Shen blocked the route. It tried threatening him with a roar. Yun Shen stared. Eventually, even the roar stopped. The golden horn beast lowered itself to the ground. The surrender was not ceremonial. It was exhausted psychology. The creature had reached the point where any ending felt better than continuing the impossible fight. That was exactly the point Yun Shen had been waiting for. The despair became pure. He took it. It fired a powerful golden energy beam. Luo Feng's expression changed. He knew how destructive that attack could be. Yun Shen did not move. The beam approached, then vanished. No explosion, no block. It simply disappeared several meters in front of Hyper Zetton. A moment later, Yun Shen raised one hand. An orange beam erupted toward the golden horn beast. It carried the power of the original attack multiplied by Yun Shen's own reflection ability. The blast struck the creature's head and tore away flesh and bone. The golden horn beast screamed. The humans watching did not celebrate. They had learned their lesson about celebrating too early. Also, the thing that had just reflected the attack looked substantially more terrifying than the thing getting hit by it. The beast charged. Yun Shen disappeared. It turned. He was already somewhere else. The golden horn beast accelerated. Yun Shen vanished again. No cooldown. No obvious energy preparation. No law fluctuation Luo Feng or Babata could identify. It looked less like a technique and more like reality had agreed to let Yun Shen stand wherever he wanted. The golden horn beast attacked faster. Nothing changed. It could not touch him. That was when Yun Shen began farming it properly. He deliberately avoided killing blows. Every failed charge fed frustration. Every reflected attack fed fear. Every impossible teleport fed confusion. The creature had spent its short life at the top of the food chain. Even against Hong, Thunder God, and Luo Feng, it had understood the battle. They could hurt it. They could trick it. But they were weaker. Yun Shen was different. The golden horn beast could not determine how to fight him at all. Its confidence collapsed. The fear pouring from it became richer. Yun Shen absorbed everything. To the humans watching, the battle looked cruel. To Yun Shen, it looked efficient. Eventually, the golden horn beast stopped attacking. It lowered itself. Its head bowed, its wings folded against its back. The monster that had nearly ended human civilization surrendered. The global audience was horrified. If the golden horn beast became Hyper Zetton's subordinate, humanity could not imagine a worse combination. Luo Feng tightened his fist despite his injuries. Yun Shen considered the kneeling creature for less than a second. He had no use for loyalty that could change. Devouring was better. His chest crystal brightened. A suppressive force locked the golden horn beast in place. Space distorted before Yun Shen. The creature's enormous body broke into luminous fragments. It was pulled into a black devouring vortex. The golden horn beast disappeared. Completely. Humanity's extinction-level enemy became food. And somewhere inside Yun Shen, its talents began becoming his. The first reward was obvious. Yun Shen's body strengthened as the golden horn beast's biological information dissolved into his own system. Raw energy mattered, but he cared far more about talent. Legendary Hyper Zetton had never evolved by collecting numbers alone. The real value of a strong meal was learning what made that creature strong. The golden horn beast possessed an extraordinary relationship with metal. Metal was not simply food to it. Rare metallic materials could be broken down, refined, and converted into the growth of its internal world. Entire branches of its future evolution depended on consuming better and better materials. Yun Shen absorbed that pathway. His original devouring talent had always been broader than the golden horn beasts. He could consume living beings, energy, fear, and physical matter. But broad did not mean optimized. By assimilating the golden horn beast's specialization, his efficiency with metal changed dramatically. What once required effort could now become a direct energy route. He tested it immediately. A damaged armored vehicle stood abandoned nearby. Yun Shen looked at it. The metal broke apart and streamed toward him as refined energy. The process was so smooth that he almost felt insulted by how inefficiently the golden horn beast had used the same gift. That creature might have required years to digest certain precious metals. Yun Shen expected to do it in days, perhaps less as his own talent continued evolving. The thought confirmed something important. He did not need to imitate the cultivation path of this universe. He could steal the useful parts. Around him, the battlefield remained silent. Luo Feng watched with a kind of exhausted disbelief. He understood enough about devouring talents to recognize what had happened. The humanoid monster had not simply killed the golden horned beast. It had learned from it. Babata's reaction was worse. He had traveled across the universe with an immortal master. He had records of star beasts, special life forms, ancient races, strange bloodlines, and biological technologies. None of them matched what he had just witnessed. A creature that could absorb another species' talent after eating it was not merely strong. It was dangerous in a way strength alone could not describe. Because every enemy it survived could become part of it. The stronger the universe became around Yun Shen, the more material the universe supplied for his growth. That logic frightened Babata more than Yun Shen's current power. Most ordinary viewers did not understand any of that. They saw one thing. The golden horn beast was gone. The monster that had destroyed fleets, survived nuclear weapons, regenerated from having its head blown apart, and nearly killed Earth's greatest fighters had disappeared into another creature's body. For several seconds, people around the planet simply stared. Then Yun Shen looked upward. Cameras caught the movement. Millions of viewers had the uncomfortable feeling that he was staring directly through the broadcast. Fear surged again. Yun Shen noticed. His emotional sensing ability had changed during the crisis. Earlier, the range had been limited. Now the network itself had become a pathway. The moment people watched him, thought about him, feared him, or reacted strongly enough through communication systems, he could feel the emotional connection. The implications were enormous. He did not need to physically stand near every frightened person. Modern civilization had built the distribution network for him. Humanity invented global communication. Yun Shen discovered global emotional delivery. He approved. Then he created 20 clones. Each one stepped out from his body with the same dark armor, the same yellow crystal structures, and the same oppressive presence. The world panicked. One Hyper Zetton had casually devoured the golden horned beast. Now there were 21. Commanders who had finally relaxed began questioning every decision that had brought them to this moment. Luo Feng prepared to fight again despite knowing how ridiculous that was. Then the clones vanished. They did not attack the city, they attacked the beast hordes. Across the planet, yellow light appeared over battlefields. The first reports were contradictory. One base claimed the beast lord had appeared outside its northern wall. Another base, thousands of kilometers away, reported the same thing at almost the same time. A naval command insisted the creature was hovering above the Pacific. Satellite operators checked the feeds twice. All of them were correct. The clones did not move like aircraft or conventional warriors. They appeared, acted, and disappeared before local command structures finished deciding whether to classify them as friendly. In Europe, a surviving beast horde had gathered around the ruins of transportation lines destroyed during the Golden Horn Beast crisis. Human defenders expected another wave. A Hyper Zetton clone appeared above them. Every weapon on the wall turned toward it automatically. No one fired. The new global order had already entered instinct before the official policy existed. When something looked like the creature that had frightened the Golden Horn Beast, shooting first felt like a poor career strategy. The clone ignored the humans. Its devouring force opened. The beast horde rose from the ground, not jumped, rose. Hundreds of monsters were pulled upward as if gravity had changed allegiance. Bodies broke apart into streams of energy. Larger creatures struggled. Smaller ones disappeared almost immediately. Within seconds, the field was empty. The defenders remained behind the wall, staring at clean ground where a battle should have happened. One soldier finally lowered his rifle. Another whispered that maybe the creature really had saved them. A third told him not to say anything too loudly in case it heard compliments as challenges. The clone vanished. In South America, a beast king attempted to flee through dense forest. It had survived the earlier chaos by avoiding cities. The creature possessed enough intelligence to understand that the new yellow-black monsters were hunting its kind. It burrowed beneath layers of earth and remained still. A clone appeared directly above the location. The devouring field reached through the ground. The beast king died without seeing its hunter. In the Arctic, ocean beasts dove toward deep water. Another clone descended over the sea. The surface twisted. Water rose in enormous columns as creatures were pulled from below. Whale-sized monsters, serpent-shaped beasts, and mutated predators became luminous fragments before reaching open air. Human submarines in the region shut down active systems and remained as quiet as possible. No one wanted the Beast Lord's clone to confuse them with seafood. In Asia, one besieged city had already prepared for a final defense. Civilians watched from shelters as warriors gathered at the outer line. Families expected casualties, doctors prepared treatment areas, emergency teams filled water reserves. Then a yellow flash appeared beyond the walls. 3 seconds later, the attacking monsters were gone. The doctors had no patience. The warriors had no enemies. The civilians did not know whether to cheer. Some did anyway. That cheer traveled through the network. Yun Shen felt it. Relief carried less useful energy than despair, but the connection itself taught him something valuable. Emotional sensing did not require suffering. Any sufficiently focused response could create a trace. That meant fear was the best food, not the only signal. Attention itself had strategic value. The more humans discussed Zetton, the easier they became to sense collectively. Yun Shen considered the possibility that public fame could one day function like a distributed sensory organ. A terrifying reputation might allow him to detect emotional disturbances across civilizations that knew his name. The thought was speculative. He stored it anyway. On another continent, a clone encountered a group of beast kings fighting each other instead of humans. The golden horned beast's control had weakened with its death, and older rivalries immediately returned. The clone consumed all of them. Yun Shen had no interest in deciding which monster possessed a stronger territorial claim. His policy was simple. If it belonged to the mutated beast population threatening humanity, it disappeared. That policy created a more complete ecological disruption than human governments initially understood. For decades, Earth's civilization had adapted itself around monster territory. Cities grew behind walls, trade routes avoided dangerous zones, warriors made careers hunting powerful beasts. Entire economic sectors existed because of monster materials. Yun Shen erased the pressure almost overnight. The long-term consequences would be enormous. Human expansion could resume, abandoned land could be reclaimed. Ocean travel could become safer. The warrior economy would change. Governments would no longer structure national defense around beast tides. Yun Shen did not plan any of this. He was cleaning the planet because he considered the monsters irritating and potentially useful as food. Civilizational transformation happened as a side effect. That pattern would repeat later on a larger scale. The strongest beings rarely needed to govern directly to reshape weaker societies. Their preferences became environmental facts. If Yun Shen disliked monsters, Earth became a world with fewer monsters. If Yun Shen disliked visitors, the solar system would become a dangerous place for visitors. Humanity's freedom continued to exist inside the boundaries of what the Beast Lord happened to tolerate. That was why Luo Feng could not fully celebrate. He stood among ruins watching global feeds update one after another. Every disappearing beast tide meant lives saved. Every effortless victory also demonstrated how little human strength mattered in comparison. Luo Feng had always responded to pressure by training. The golden horned beast pushed him to gamble his life. Zetton pushed him towards something more enduring. He wanted independence, not political independence from another nation. Species-level independence from the mercy of a stronger being. The thought became one of many pressures driving him toward the universe. Babata understood and encouraged it. The AI did not sentimentalize the situation. Weak civilizations survived because stronger powers allowed them to. That was normal cosmic reality. Earth had simply learned the lesson earlier than expected. Luo Feng disliked the lesson. That did not make it false. Meanwhile, ordinary people reacted more pragmatically. A family whose city had been saved cared less about species' dignity than the fact that their children were alive. A soldier who had expected to die appreciated not dying. A refugee who could return home did not spend the first night debating whether. Zetton's protection was philosophically humiliating. Gratitude appeared alongside fear. That emotional mixture became the foundation of the Beast Lord image. No one loved Zetton the way people love human heroes. He was too alien, too silent, too obviously capable of reversing his decision. But the same silence allowed people to project meaning onto him. Some believed he had defended the planet because Earth was his birthplace. Others believed he viewed humans as part of his territory. A few suggested he had only eaten the beasts because they were convenient food. That last theory came closest to the truth and was usually dismissed as too cynical. Yun Shen found that funny. When the final beast emperor vanished, the clones stopped. There was no victory speech, no declaration that humanity was safe, no demand for tribute. The 20 figures simply returned. Their silence became part of the legend. Humans were accustomed to leaders explaining themselves. A being that acted without explanation seemed larger than politics. That perception helped the later natural disaster comparison. Earth did not negotiate with earthquakes. It prepared around them. Zetton was beginning to occupy the same psychological category. A clone arrived outside one base city and released its devouring field. The monsters disappeared. Another clone appeared on another continent. The local beast tide vanished. Ocean monsters tried to dive. They were dragged apart and consumed through layers of water. Burrowing creatures hid underground. Yun Shen's sensing found them anyway. One after another, every major monster concentration on Earth was erased. The process was not a battle. It was sanitation. In less than 2 minutes, besieged human bases around the world found themselves looking at empty battlefields. There were no carcasses. No wounded beast kings crawling away. No scattered hordes regrouping beyond the horizon. There was simply nothing left. The sudden silence felt stranger than war. People stepped out of shelters carefully, as if noise might make the apocalypse remember them. Yun Shen watched the emotional shift. Fear remained. Confusion increased. Relief appeared. Hope returned in cautious fragments. He did not particularly care which emotion people chose as long as the stronger negative reactions continued feeding him when needed. His motives were simpler than humanity imagined. He disliked the monsters because they threatened Earth's humans. His soul had been human before either reincarnation. 2 centuries inside a monster body had made him colder. Legendary Hyper Zetton's instincts had influenced him. The scale of his thinking had changed. Human lives no longer produced the same automatic emotional reaction they once had. But he was not empty. Watching the golden horned beast slaughter cities without intervening would have meant admitting that the human part of Yun Shen had disappeared completely. He was not ready to make that admission, so he removed the monsters. That did not mean he intended to become humanity's guardian angel. Guardian angels generally did not feed on the despair of the people they protected. Yun Shen preferred a more flexible job description. When the cleanup ended, he recalled the clones and stood alone above the Pacific. All of humanity waited. Would he leave? Would he demand worship? Would he turn toward the cities now that the other monsters were gone? Then Yun Shen felt something that did not belong to Earth. A gaze. It was not physical. No telescope turned toward him. No satellite changed orbit. The attention came from far beyond the planet, carried through the same strange emotional dimension that now allowed Yun Shen to sense those who focused intensely upon him. Whoever watched felt curiosity. Not fear. Not hostility. Curiosity. That was worse. Strong beings rarely studied weak beings unless they had a reason. Yun Shen searched his memory of Swallowed Star's deeper story. Earth was not an ordinary planet. Its importance extended far beyond its current civilization. Zuo Shankei, one of the terrifying hidden figures behind Luo Feng's eventual rise, had manipulated and reshaped Earth as part of a long-term selection plan. At his peak, Zuo Shankei had belonged to a level Yun Shen had no desire to test while still rebuilding himself. Yun Shen connected the timing. He had eaten the golden horned beast. That creature had been central to Luo Feng's original opportunity. Now, someone powerful enough to observe Earth from unimaginable distance had noticed the deviation. Yun Shen's confidence cooled instantly. This was exactly why knowing the plot did not make someone omnipotent. A story looked simple from the outside because readers saw the relevant pieces. Living inside the universe meant sharing the board with characters who could rearrange those pieces. Yun Shen did not know for certain that the observer was Zuo Shan-Ke. He strongly suspected it. He also knew one comforting fact. The gaze carried no killing intent. If a being at that level wanted him dead, Yun Shen doubted he would receive a polite warning first. So he did something rare. He decided not to escalate. He disappeared from the battlefield and returned to isolation. Humanity interpreted his departure very differently. The emergency meetings began immediately. Representatives of the major powers, warrior organizations, and surviving high-level leadership gathered to answer a question no government manual had covered. What exactly was Earth supposed to do about the monster that had just saved civilization, while also proving it could end civilization more easily than the previous monster? Luo Feng gave them every observation he and Babata could reasonably share. He explained the blood cocoon beneath the Mariana Trench. He explained that the creature appeared to have hatched recently. He explained that it had never attacked humans directly during the crisis. He explained that it had specifically targeted the golden horned beast and the global beast population. Then Babata offered a theory based on examples from interstellar biology. Some powerful territorial creatures tolerated weaker intelligent species the same way humans tolerated harmless animals. A dominant monster might destroy rival predators while ignoring a local civilization that posed no threat. In extreme cases, the relationship resembled ownership more than alliance. Humanity could be, from Zetton's perspective, pets. The room went silent. One elder finally objected to the humiliation of the idea. Another pointed out that being an alive pet was, statistically speaking, better than being an extinct independent civilization. Pride lost the vote. 3 policies emerged. First, humanity standardized a name based on the sound the creature had produced. Zetton. Second, no organization or individual could approach, attack, provoke, study, trap, worship, recruit, annoy, or otherwise interact with Zetton without the highest authorization. The policy was essentially, if you see the cosmic monster, mind your business. Third, cities would erect statues recognizing Zetton as the Lord of the Beasts, not as a god. The distinction mattered politically. Governments wanted public gratitude without accidentally creating a planetary cult. So Earth entered a strange new era. The phrase sounded peaceful. The reality was more complicated. Civilization had survived, but survival did not erase the psychological shock of the previous days. Streets reopened while emergency shelters remained stocked. Airports resumed operation while militaries quietly rewrote threat protocols. News channels returned to normal programming while running daily segments about the Beast Lord. Children asked whether Zetton was good. Adults gave different answers depending on how honest they felt. Some said yes because he had killed the monsters. Some said no because good beings did not make entire armies panic by standing still. Most settled on a safer explanation. Zetton was dangerous, but he had chosen not to harm humanity. For ordinary people, that was enough. The first statues created controversy. Some communities welcomed them as memorials to the day civilization survived. Others considered the idea humiliating. A few religious groups objected to anything that looked remotely like worship. Governments repeated that the monuments were symbolic recognition, not sacred icons. That distinction did not prevent tourists from taking photographs. Within weeks, small Zetton souvenirs appeared in markets. Humanity had an astonishing ability to commercialize trauma. Someone sold plush toys. Someone else sold shirts with stylized yellow crystal patterns. A restaurant near one rebuilt district advertised a Beast Lord special, large enough to feed 4 people, and claimed, with no scientific basis whatsoever, that finishing it would improve survival instincts. Yun Shen discovered these developments through public networks and decided humans were impossible to classify. Days earlier, billions had believed he might erase them. Now some entrepreneur was printing his face on cups. He did not interfere. The emotional response remained useful. Fear softened into fascination. Fascination produced attention. Attention strengthened his ability to sense humans through the network. That new pathway deserved study. Yun Shen focused on one city and could feel broad emotional impressions from people discussing him online. The effect weakened with casual attention and strengthened with obsession. Someone who briefly glanced at a statue barely registered. Someone watching footage of the Golden Horned Beast battle, while imagining Zetton appearing outside their home, produced a much clearer signal. The mechanism did not depend on physical distance in the normal way. That suggested the emotional connection existed through something closer to information and consciousness than energy transmission. Yun Shen found the implication exciting. If ordinary internet networks on one planet could expand the range this far, what would the virtual universe do? The question reinforced his decision to participate in the genius battle. Earth's governments, meanwhile, tried to estimate whether Zetton had a territory. The Himalayas became the obvious answer after satellites repeatedly encountered interference there. Rather than investigate, leadership followed its own new doctrine. They drew a boundary. Then they moved the boundary farther away just to be safe. No aircraft entered. No expedition climbed the restricted mountains. No scientist was allowed to accidentally test whether Zetton reacted to probes. The caution was not cowardice. Humanity had recently learned a valuable lesson about respecting the difference between curiosity and survivability. Luo Feng supported the policy. He had another reason. Every time he remembered the battle, he saw the golden horned beast surrender. That image stayed with him. Luo Feng had nearly died fighting the creature. Hong and Thunder God had burned their lives. Humanity had sacrificed armies. Zetton had treated the same enemy as a source of entertainment. The gap offended Luo Feng's competitive spirit more than it frightened him. He did not want Earth to depend permanently on a creature whose motivations remained unknown, so he trained harder. The existence of Yun Shen became another pressure, pushing Luo Feng outward. Babata approved. A safe planet could make a talented warrior comfortable. A planet protected by a mysterious monster created a more complicated motivation. Luo Feng could appreciate the protection while refusing to accept dependence. That contradiction strengthened him. Yun Shen observed without interfering. He had no reason to sabotage Luo Feng's growth. Quite the opposite. A stronger Luo Feng attracted stronger enemies, stronger opportunities, and stronger cosmic events. From Yun Shen's perspective, the protagonist of the original story was practically a mobile invitation to interesting disasters. Keeping him alive seemed wise. That did not make them allies. Yun Shen did not need the label. Labels created expectations. He preferred options. The deeper concern remained Zuo Shankei. Yun Shen replayed the sensation of the distant gaze repeatedly. The emotion had been clean curiosity, not hostility. That suggested the observer was evaluating rather than preparing to attack. But evaluation by a powerful being could become more dangerous than open hostility. An enemy who hated Yun Shen might try to kill him. A planner like Zuo Shankei might decide Yun Shen was useful. Useful pieces tended to discover the board only after someone moved them. Yun Shen disliked being moved. He searched his knowledge of the story for details. Zuo Shankei's history stretched beyond the original universe into the deeper cosmology of the setting. He was not simply another powerful cultivator sitting in a palace. His motives came from loss, revenge, reincarnation, and plans measured across ages. Earth itself had been modified as part of those plans. The planet's humans possessed unusual spiritual qualities because someone had deliberately shaped the environment and bloodline development over generations. Luo Feng was not a random, talented young man who happened to be lucky enough to find Babata. He stood inside a selection process much older than his civilization understood. Yun Shen's arrival disrupted that process. That made caution mandatory. He considered leaving Earth immediately. The universe contained countless regions where a growing special life form could disappear, yet leaving too quickly carried different risks. Zuo Shankei already knew about him. Running might look more suspicious than remaining. Earth also provided several strategic benefits. Yun Shen knew the local story. He knew Luo Feng's approximate development path. He knew which crises would appear. He had a hidden territory protected by human fear. And, perhaps most importantly, Earth remained under the attention of a being powerful enough that random cosmic predators might accidentally become someone else's problem. The safest place near a sleeping dragon was sometimes directly beneath its eye. Yun Shen decided to stay until the genius battle. That decision required discipline. He could not openly consume civilizations near Earth. He could not reveal full teleportation too often. He could not create obvious patterns linking disappearances to the solar system. He needed resources without exposure. The golden horned beast's metal-devouring talent helped. Earth and nearby planetary bodies contained material he could process. The amounts were small compared with his future needs, but every route mattered during early reconstruction. He also studied the monster puppets he could create from devoured biological information. Unlike his temporary clones, puppets did not possess full independent intelligence. They could fight, guard, patrol, and execute simple instructions. That made them perfect sentries. Yun Shen scattered them carefully. The outer solar system became quieter than it looked. Humanity saw empty space. Yun Shen saw tripwires. The system waited for Nolan Shan. Before that threat arrived, Luo Feng's unexpected discovery on Mars confirmed that the hidden game around Earth was still moving. The golden horned beast egg should not have been there by chance. Babata proposed the possibility of twin eggs, one reaching Earth and another Mars. Luo Feng accepted the explanation because he lacked a better one. Yun Shen did not. He watched Luo Feng take the new body and felt something close to relief. The correction was elegant, too elegant. That meant the unseen planner preferred maintaining Luo Feng's path rather than punishing Yun Shen for altering it. For now, Yun Shen understood the temporary nature of that tolerance. If he interfered with every major opportunity, eventually curiosity could become irritation. So he adopted another rule: do not steal what he did not need. The golden horned beast had been necessary because it threatened Earth and offered valuable talent. Future Luo Feng opportunities could remain Luo Feng's unless Yun Shen had a compelling reason. There was enough food in the universe without fighting the protagonist over every treasure. Besides, Luo Feng becoming stronger benefited everyone except Luo Feng's future enemies. Yun Shen had no sympathy for them yet. The cities rebuilt, beast pressure vanished, transport routes reopened. Survivors returned to neighborhoods they expected never to see again. And enormous statues of the creature humanity feared appeared in major population centers. People did not pray to them, mostly. They looked at them with the complicated respect normally reserved for volcanoes that had decided not to erupt today. Yun Shen knew about the statues. He found the misunderstanding entertaining enough to leave untouched. Humans, believing he operated through animal instinct, gave him cover. They did not know he understood their meetings. They did not know he understood their languages. They did not know he had read part of their universe's future before arriving. The less intelligent they believed him to be, the more predictable their precautions became. Yun Shen intended to keep that advantage. Meanwhile, Luo Feng continued moving along the path of the original story, but not exactly. The golden horned beast he should have taken had been eaten. That should have cost him one of the greatest opportunities of his early life. Instead, after Hong and Thunder God awakened from their near-death state, Luo Feng traveled to Mars while searching for resources in extraterrestrial technology. There he found an egg, a golden horned beast egg. Babata could barely believe the coincidence. Yun Shen could. He watched from a distance and mentally crossed coincidence off the list. The egg was close to hatching. Luo Feng used the soul-seizing technique available to him and took control of the unborn body before it fully emerged. The creature hatched. It consumed the metal-rich shell. Its strength rose rapidly. Luo Feng had his golden horned beast body again. The story had been around Yun Shen's interference and restored the important opportunity through another route. That interested Yun Shen far more than the egg itself. Someone wanted Luo Feng to continue developing. The likely answer was still Zuo Shanke. Yun Shen did not resent it. In fact, he preferred it. As long as the hidden powerhouse's attention remained focused on Luo Feng, Yun Shen could grow quietly. Quietly, in this context, meant eventually devouring civilizations without introducing himself first. His next goal required access to the wider universe. Earth had become too small. The local monster population was gone. The best prey had been eaten. Humanity's fear remained available through the network, but repeatedly terrorizing the same civilization would be inefficient and morally irritating. Yun Shen needed new sources. The Universe Genius Battle offered exactly that. From the perspective of the Virtual Universe Company, the event existed to identify extraordinary young talent across enormous territories. From Yun Shen's perspective, it was an organized gathering of ambitious people who had spent their lives believing they were special. He could work with that. Ordinary civilians feared death. Talented warriors feared insignificance. The stronger their self-belief, the more dramatic the collapse when they met something they could not understand. Yun Shen did not care much about the official rewards. He wanted emotional energy. He also wanted information. The virtual universe connected unimaginable numbers of human civilizations. Markets, communications, training grounds, public arenas, and political structures all existed inside an artificial environment so realistic that most users treated it as a second life. Yun Shen's ability to absorb emotions through networks made that environment irresistible. He needed access. That created an unexpectedly mundane problem. He needed a legal identity and a headset. Even cosmic disasters occasionally met bureaucracy. Luo Feng was preparing to leave Earth for Qulong Star. Yun Shen decided to hitch a ride. He could have forced information from Babata or taken a ship, but coordinates mattered. The universe was large enough that go to the nearby inhabited planet was not useful navigation. Luo Feng already had the route. So, Yun Shen waited until Luo Feng's Black Dragon Mountain spacecraft prepared to leave Earth. Luo Feng completed his family arrangements, checked the ship, and looked forward to seeing the wider universe for the first time. He entered the cockpit. Babata reviewed safety warnings. Luo Feng reached for the controls. Then a familiar sound came from behind him. Zetton. Luo Feng froze. Babata froze. They turned. Yun Shen stood in the cockpit at roughly human size. Neither had sensed him enter. Neither knew how long he had been standing there. Luo Feng experienced the very specific fear of discovering that the planetary monster your civilization had agreed never to provoke had quietly boarded your private spacecraft. He tried speaking politely. Yun Shen did not answer. That was intentional. He could understand everything. He simply refused to reveal it. Luo Feng pointed toward the external navigation display. Yun Shen pointed at it too. Luo Feng slowly reached a conclusion. The Beast Lord wanted to go into space. Babata privately suggested that if they could leave Zetton on a distant planet, Earth would become safer. Yun Shen heard the conversation. He almost respected the optimism. The ship entered the dark universe. The transition itself interested Yun Shen. Earth science still treated faster than light travel as something closer to legend than transportation. Interstellar civilization treated it as infrastructure. The Black Dragon Mountain ship accelerated toward the light speed threshold, then entered the dark universe where the relationship between distance and travel changed completely. Luo Feng watched the readings with the excitement of someone finally stepping beyond the border of his childhood world. Yun Shen watched for different reasons. He wanted to understand every system that could become useful later. The dark universe did not invalidate his teleportation ability, but coordinates still mattered. Moving instantly to an unknown place was not useful if the universe contained more empty space than targets. Ships, maps, citizens, and networks solved that problem. Power could cross distance. Civilization told you where to go. For 10 days, Luo Feng and Babata lived with the least comfortable passenger imaginable. Yun Shen did not eat. He did not sleep in any visible human way. He rarely moved. He simply stood in the central cabin, at reduced size while yellow crystal light pulsed faintly across his body. Luo Feng tried conversation on the first day. No response. He tried simple gestures. No response. He pointed at himself and said his name. Yun Shen remained still. Babata privately suggested that perhaps Zetton's intelligence operated more like a territorial beast than a person. Yun Shen listened and continued pretending. On the third day, Luo Feng placed basic written symbols on a screen and attempted to associate them with objects. Yun Shen almost broke character. The man who would one day become one of the most terrifying existences in the universe was currently trying to teach legendary Hyper Zetton how to read like a patient kindergarten instructor. Yun Shen decided the memory was worth keeping. He still gave no reaction. The disguise served multiple purposes. If Luo Feng believed Zetton could not communicate normally, he would describe the creature that way later. Babata would preserve the assessment. Any organization reviewing their testimony would prepare for a powerful beast, not a calculating outsider with knowledge of future events. Beasts were dangerous. Strategists were watched. Yun Shen preferred being underestimated intellectually. His raw power already made physical underestimation unlikely. During the journey, he also studied Luo Feng. The protagonist was younger than the version Yun Shen remembered from later story arcs. Ambition existed, but the scale had not yet expanded. Earth still defined most of Luo Feng's emotional world. Family mattered intensely. Humanity mattered. The universe was something ahead, not something he belonged to yet. Yun Shen understood the feeling. There had been a time when one planet felt large to him too. That time had ended before his first death. After becoming Hyper Zetton, distance changed psychologically. Cities became terrain. Planets became locations. Universes became environments. The body altered the mind simply by changing what was possible. A human standing beside a mountain felt small. A creature capable of destroying the mountain eventually stopped treating mountains as permanent. Yun Shen wondered what repeated evolution would do to his remaining human perspective. The question did not frighten him enough to stop, it did interest him. He still protected Earth because it felt like home by association. Even though this was not technically the Earth of his first life, he still understood human humor. He still felt irritation, curiosity, amusement, and a limited kind of empathy. But he had also just planned the extermination of a cosmic family before meeting them. The line between Yun Shen, the human, and Yun Shen, the cosmic predator, was not disappearing in one dramatic moment. It was moving quietly. The 10-day voyage gave him too much time to notice. Luo Feng had no idea what his silent passenger was thinking. He mostly wondered whether Zetton might suddenly become hungry. Babata assured him the creature had ignored humans on Earth. Luo Feng pointed out that being ignored on a planet and being trapped with the creature inside a spaceship were emotionally different experiences. Babata did not disagree. When the vessel finally prepared to exit the dark universe, both relaxed slightly. Long Star appeared through the navigation display as a major node of regional civilization. Traffic moved around the planet, ships arrived and departed. Orbital infrastructure immediately surpassed anything Earth possessed. Luo Feng stared. Yun Shen evaluated. This was still a minor location compared with true human power centers, yet the difference from Earth was enormous. Cosmic citizenship, slave markets, planetary ownership, banking systems, genetic variation, advanced weapons, and virtual networks all existed as ordinary parts of life. That ordinariness mattered. Earth's leaders still thought in terms of national territory. Here, wealthy individuals could discuss planets the way Earth elites discussed real estate. A weak civilization without legal ownership could be claimed, traded, exploited, or enslaved through systems larger than any local military response. Yun Shen understood why Luo Feng's original story treated legal planetary ownership as urgent. Raw strength mattered, paperwork mattered too. Cosmic civilization had weaponized bureaucracy. When Yun Shen walked through the port, he attracted attention but not panic. That experience was new. One merchant glanced at him, decided he was probably some mixed-blood species, and continued negotiating cargo prices. A group of travelers gave him extra space, because his appearance suggested combat strength. No one recognized legendary Hyper Zetton. No one knew Earth's broadcasts. No one understood what had walked among them. Yun Shen enjoyed anonymity more than expected. It also confirmed how small Earth really was. On Earth, his existence had reshaped global policy. On Long Star, he was a strange customer waiting in line. The contrast sharpened his ambition. He did not want fame. He wanted enough power that fame became irrelevant. The citizenship office represented the first practical step. Yun Shen watched Luo Feng navigate registration with Babata's guidance. The process verified identity, genetic category, and legal status within the empire. When Yun Shen took the seat next, Luo Feng's expression became priceless. The monster had apparently understood bureaucracy. That alone should have challenged the low intelligence theory. Luo Feng rationalized it as imitation. Yun Shen allowed him to. The genetic scanner activated. Yun Shen altered his internal biological presentation through adaptive abilities inherited from his wider monster structure. Producing a small percentage of recognizable human markers required almost no effort. The system approved him. The clerk barely reacted. The human definition within cosmic civilization was broad enough to include countless branches, subspecies, altered lineages, and mixed forms. Yun Shen's body looked bizarre by Earth standards, but not impossible here. Luo Feng looked more disturbed than the clerk. The result suggested either Zetton possessed human ancestry or had fooled the test. Both possibilities were uncomfortable. The clerk asked for a name. Yun Shen remained silent. Luo Feng reluctantly supplied Zetton. The official identity became real. Yun Shen accepted the card and stored it inside his personal space with the same casual movement he used for everything else. That small gesture created another question in Luo Feng's mind. Zetton understood ownership. Zetton understood that the card belonged to him. Zetton had intentionally registered. How unintelligent could he actually be? Yun Shen did not answer. He moved next to the virtual universe equipment market. The headset was almost disappointingly easy to obtain. No ancient trial. No guarded treasure vault. No cosmic beast blocking the door. Money changed hands. Luo Feng, still acting as unwilling financial sponsor, paid. Yun Shen took the device. The entire 10-day journey had been for this object and the legal identity required for future competition. Once both were secured, he no longer needed the ship. He teleported. Luo Feng stared at the empty space for several seconds. Then he asked Babata whether the creature had just used true spatial teleportation again. Babata answered yes. Luo Feng asked whether universe-level creatures should be able to do that. Babata answered no. Luo Feng asked why Zetton had spent 10 days riding their ship if he could teleport. Babata had no answer. Yun Shen did. Coordinates. That tiny missing detail was the reason a creature powerful enough to terrify Earth had needed public transportation. The universe contained more comedy than he remembered. The journey took days. Luo Feng repeatedly attempted communication. He tried gestures. He tried words. At one point, he considered teaching Zetton written language. Yun Shen stood silently like a sculpture. Pretending to be a barely communicative monster was tedious. It was also useful. Powerful humans prepared different traps for beasts than they did for intelligent strategists. Yun Shen did not expect the disguise to fool the true top-level beings forever, but every wrong assumption bought him space. When the ship finally reached Chulung Star, Yun Shen followed Luo Feng into civilization. The planet was everything Earth was not. Interstellar travelers moved openly through the port. Different human subspecies and mixed bloodlines appeared everywhere. Technology that would have transformed Earth passed as ordinary infrastructure. No one screamed when Yun Shen walked through the crowd. That alone amused him. On Earth, his appearance had caused planetary panic. Here, some people merely assumed he came from an unusual insect-human bloodline. The universe was wonderfully desensitized. Luo Feng went to register legal citizenship. After watching the process, Yun Shen sat down at the same station. The clerk studied him. Forms were processed. Then came genetic verification. Luo Feng watched closely. If Zetton had no recognized human genetic markers, the registration would fail. The result came back acceptable. Luo Feng nearly forgot to breathe. Yun Shen had used his adaptive biological abilities to imitate a small amount of human genetic structure. It was enough. The clerk asked for a name. Luo Feng, forced into the role of unwilling sponsor, gave the only one he had, Zetton. The identity was registered. Somewhere in the administrative systems of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, legendary Hyper Zetton became a legal citizen. Yun Shen obtained the official documentation, stored it inside his internal space, and followed Luo Feng to purchase a virtual universe consciousness headset. Luo Feng paid. Yun Shen took the headset. Then he vanished. No farewell, no explanation. One instant he stood beside Luo Feng. The next he was back on Earth. Luo Feng stared at the empty space. Babata tried to explain the teleportation and failed. Luo Feng asked the question that had followed him since the capital battle. What exactly was Zetton? Babata had no answer. Yun Shen considered that excellent. Back in the Himalayas, Yun Shen finally allowed himself to relax. Humanity had declared the region around his chosen resting place a restricted zone. Satellites attempting to observe him received interference. Aircraft did not approach. Military patrols remained far outside the mountain range. The Beast Lord had accidentally acquired the kind of privacy that billionaires spent fortunes trying to buy. Yun Shen restored his full 70-meter combat form and examined the virtual universe headset. It looked unimpressive. That almost made it funnier. One of the most important information networks in the human territory of the original universe could be entered through something that resembled advanced consumer electronics. The real marvel was not the device, it was the system behind it. The virtual universe reproduced environments, bodies, markets, conversations, and combat with astonishing fidelity. A human could live, learn, train, buy property, conduct business, enter competitions, and interact with people separated by absurd cosmic distances without physically leaving home. For Yun Shen, that meant billions upon billions of minds connected through one infrastructure. He had already learned that emotional energy could travel through ordinary terrestrial networks. The virtual universe was not simply a network, it was a civilization-scale emotional ocean. Yun Shen had no intention of immediately exposing his full nature inside it. He understood one basic truth about large organizations. The moment someone behaved too strangely, some department would eventually create a meeting about them. He preferred that meeting to happen later. The universe genius battle was still some time away. That gave him room to prepare. Yun Shen separated a smaller clone from his body. The clone stood at roughly human scale and carried the same unmistakable legendary Hyper Zetton appearance. Its strength was deliberately limited to the peak stellar level rather than matching the full body. That would be the competition vessel. Using a reduced clone solved multiple problems. First, it prevented Yun Shen from revealing his real combat level too early. Second, it allowed him to interact with weaker participants without accidentally creating the kind of energy signature that caused experienced observers to ask impolite questions. Third, It preserved the image that mattered most: fear. A human disguise would have been easier socially. It would also have been less effective. Yun Shen's actual form carried an instinctive pressure, strange yellow crystals, insectoid armor, the famous electronic call, a silhouette that looked like violence had learned posture. If the goal was to harvest despair from proud geniuses, appearing friendly would be counterproductive. He tested the clone's movement. Perfect. He tested emotional sensing. Functional. He tested the link between clone and main body. Stable. Good enough. The universe genius battle could become his first large-scale feeding ground beyond Earth. But before that, there was a problem inside the original storyline: the Nolan Shan family. Yun Shen remembered what should happen. A Nolan Shan exploration vessel would accidentally enter the solar system through a wormhole incident. The crew would discover Earth, investigate its civilization, and realize the planet possessed enormous value. In the original development, the resulting conflict became a major early cosmic crisis for Luo Feng. For Yun Shen, the danger was different. The explorers would access Earth's information networks, and Earth's information networks contained footage of Zetton. Global broadcasts of the Golden Horn Beast battle existed. Government reports existed. Statues existed. There was no realistic way to erase the fact that an unknown humanoid monster had appeared on Earth and demonstrated abilities that did not fit local cultivation logic. If Nolan Shan intelligence left the solar system, Yun Shen's secrecy would end before the genius battle even began. That was unacceptable. Later, he would not care. Once his foundation became strong enough, attention could become another resource. Hunters would bring talents, enemies would bring fear. Powerful factions would send better meals. But timing mattered. A predator that revealed itself before growing teeth was not bold. It was stupid. Yun Shen decided to remove the entire future problem at the root, not merely the scouting ship, the family. That distinction said a great deal about how his thinking had changed. The human Yun Shen might once have considered stopping the invaders enough. Legendary Hyper Zetton preferred final solutions. If he killed only the first crew, the family might investigate the disappearance. If he destroyed only the next fleet, stronger relatives might arrive. If he waited for them to threaten Earth, the conflict would happen on his home territory. So he would let one scouting vessel come close enough to provide coordinates, then use it to trace the family back to its origin and erase the line of retaliation before it formed. Cold. Efficient. Very unlike a superhero. Yun Shen did not pretend otherwise. He released monster puppets throughout the outer solar system, and ordered them to watch for abnormal spatial fluctuations. The puppets did not need to understand the strategy, they only needed to report. Then Yun Shen waited. 2 months passed. On Earth, life continued rebuilding. People grew used to the giant Zetton statues. Children born after the catastrophe would eventually think public monuments to a cosmic insect monster were normal civic decoration. Luo Feng continued training. Hong and Thunder God recovered. Governments returned to arguing about ordinary problems, which Yun Shen considered the clearest sign that civilization had survived. Then a puppet near the Oort cloud sent the signal. Spatial fluctuation. A ship had appeared. Yun Shen vanished from the Himalayas. The silver gray vessel emerged from the wormhole, battered but functional. Inside, Bro Nolan Shan and his crew were recovering from the accident. For the crew, the accident had begun as terror and ended as opportunity. Their ship had been thrown off course through unstable space. Systems screamed. Navigation failed. Several crew members believed they were about to die somewhere. No rescue signal would ever reach. Then the vessel stabilized. Autica reconstructed the local star map. The mood changed immediately. A concealed system. An apparently unclaimed inhabited planet. No obvious Imperial registration. No visible fleet strong enough to enforce ownership. Bro Nolan Shan understood the potential faster than the others. A life planet was not merely land. It meant population, resources, taxes, biological products, territory, prestige, and strategic value. Depending on local conditions, one successful claim could transform the fortunes of an entire branch of the family. The crew congratulated one another. Someone joked that nearly dying had been worth it. Someone else began calculating rewards. They had no idea a monster puppet had already reported their arrival. Far away, Yun Shen received the signal and felt something close to satisfaction. The original plot had finally delivered the address he needed. He did not immediately destroy the ship from outside. That would solve the small problem and preserve the large one. The vessel carried records. Records led to family networks. Family networks led to coordinates. Coordinates led to the route. Yun Shen wanted the route. He approached without hiding his form completely. The ship detected him. The crew's first reaction was confusion rather than fear, because nothing in their experience told them what they were looking at. Unknown did not automatically mean dangerous. Cosmic travelers saw unusual bodies all the time. Human territory included countless genetic branches. Some looked almost identical to Earth humans. Others possessed scales, horns, unusual skin, elongated limbs, or features inherited from ancient interbreeding. Yun Shen's silhouette was strange, but strangeness alone did not frighten people who traveled between planets. The failed power readings should have. Atuka reported that conventional sensors could not accurately determine the target's energy level. One crew member suggested interference. Another guessed special equipment. The strongest fighter dismissed the concern. That was how confidence protected itself. When reality provided information that threatened an existing belief, the mind often repaired the belief before examining the information. Their belief was simple. They were members of a cosmic family. They had a ship. They had stellar-level warriors. The life planet ahead looked primitive. Therefore, the lone creature outside could not be too dangerous. Bro Nolan Shan ordered caution anyway. He was not incompetent. That mattered to Yun Shen's later judgment. The man did not send one subordinate to investigate like a villain volunteering disposable troops. He prepared the crew to fight together if necessary. Reasonable. Still useless. The hatch sequence had not finished when Yun Shen teleported inside. His arrival violated their sense of security before anyone died. Ships were controlled environments. Walls mattered. Airlocks mattered. Security fields mattered. A stranger appearing in the center of the cabin without passing any of them transformed the vessel from shelter into trap. The electronic sound echoed softly. Zetton. A few crew members raised weapons. The strongest, stellar-level fighter stepped forward. His expression suggested annoyance more than fear. He interpreted Yun Shen's human-sized form as evidence of manageable mass and therefore manageable threat. That assumption lasted until the first strike. Yun Shen moved once. The fighter died, not wounded, not knocked unconscious, destroyed. The difference between expectation and result produced immediate panic. The others had known the fighter personally. They had trained beside him, argued with him, watched him defeat opponents. His strength represented a familiar scale. Yun Shen erased that scale with one motion. The body began dissolving under devouring power. That detail shattered the last illusion that this might be a misunderstanding. One crew member stumbled backward and whispered that the creature was feeding. Another tried to open an emergency door. Someone raised a weapon but could not make his hand stop shaking. Bro Nolan Shan shouted orders. No one obeyed quickly enough. Yun Shen listened to their heartbeats and emotional output. The small enclosed environment concentrated fear beautifully. Unlike a city, there was nowhere for attention to disperse. Everyone could see him. Everyone understood the exit problem. Everyone had just watched their strongest, visible companion die instantly. Yun Shen could have used mental communication immediately. He waited. Silence became part of the pressure. People filled silence with their own worst explanations. Was the creature intelligent? Did it understand surrender? Had it targeted them specifically? Was it connected to the hidden planet? Had they accidentally entered someone's territory? Could it teleport through every sealed compartment? Would the ship's destruction trigger if they fought? None of the questions received answers. Yun Shen blocked the first person who ran. He appeared in front of the escape route without crossing the distance. The man stopped so hard he fell backward. Yun Shen did not kill him immediately. That frightened everyone more than if he had. Predators that attacked on instinct were understandable. Predators that chose timing were intelligent. Bro Nolan Shan realized it too. The man's face changed. This was not a beast accidentally wandering through space. It was evaluating them. He finally screamed for the crew to attack together and charge first. That act deserved more respect than Yun Shen gave him at the time. Bro Nolan Shan was terrified, but he understood leadership. If he ordered others forward while remaining behind, no one would move. So he became the first body in motion. The others followed because collective action briefly suppressed individual fear. Yun Shen allowed them that 1 second of courage. Then he ended it. 7 movements. 7 deaths. The sounds arrived so close together, they almost became one impact. Bro Nolan Shan had barely advanced. He looked left. A body folded against the wall. Right. Another collapsed. Behind him, the last crew member hit the floor. Courage disappeared. The emotional collapse was immediate and complete. Bro Nolan Shan fell to his knees. His survival instincts overwhelmed dignity. He offered wealth, information, equipment, service, anything. Yun Shen finally spoke directly into his mind. The communication carried meaning without language. Transfer control. Bro Nolan Shan moved so quickly he nearly tripped over a corpse. Atuka accepted the authority change. The artificial intelligence recognized Yun Shen as master. That transfer mattered more than the ship itself. Atuka possessed navigation records, family information, route history, and access protocols. The Nolan Shan family had unknowingly sent Yun Shen a guidebook to its own destruction. Bro Nolan Shan believed the exchange meant mercy. His shoulders lowered. Relief entered the emotional field. Yun Shen noticed how quickly hope returned when a desperate person believed negotiation had succeeded. Then he killed him. The relief vanished with the head. Yun Shen did not enjoy betrayal because, from his perspective, no agreement had existed. He had issued a command. The man had obeyed. That completed the useful interaction. The difference between Yun Shen's interpretation and a human interpretation revealed how far his thinking had already shifted. A human criminal might have promised life in exchange for cooperation. Yun Shen saw no reason to create a promise he did not intend to keep. Mercy offered no strategic benefit. A surviving witness created risk, so there was no witness. Atuka received the destination, Ice Blue Star. The vessel turned away from Earth. Behind it, the solar system remained ignorant of how close its next crisis had come to beginning. Luo Feng did not know the Nolan Shan scouts had arrived. Earth's governments did not know. Humanity's new Beast Lord policy never activated because the threat disappeared before anyone detected it. This was exactly the kind of protection Yun Shen preferred. No gratitude, no negotiations, no witnesses, just removal. Their artificial intelligence, Atuka, analyzed the region. The results transformed fear into excitement. They had entered a star system whose coordinates had been concealed by a powerful being long ago. Inside, the system existed an apparently unclaimed life planet. To people from a cosmic family that measured wealth in planets, This was the equivalent of stumbling into a locked house and discovering no one appeared to own the deed. Bro Nolan Shan laughed. The crew celebrated. They had survived a dangerous navigation accident and immediately found an opportunity that could make them rich. Then the alarms started. Atuka detected a figure in space ahead. The image appeared on the main display. Humanoid, dark body, yellow crystal structures, impossible to classify. Some crew members thought it looked like a beast. Others guessed an unusual human branch. The ship's sensors could not accurately read Yunshen's power. That failure encouraged the worst possible kind of confidence. A strong stellar-level warrior on the crew looked at the lone figure outside and dismissed the danger. They were armed. They had numbers. They belonged to the Nolan Shan family. An unknown creature standing between them and a valuable planet was not a threat. It was an obstacle. Bro Nolan Shan, to his credit, was slightly more cautious. He ordered the crew to prepare together instead of sending one person out alone. It did not matter. Before the hatch opened, the same strange electronic sound came from inside the ship. Zetton. Every head turned. Yunshen was already there. No breach alarm had sounded. No door had opened. No teleportation signature matched anything the ship recognized. He simply occupied a space that had been empty a moment earlier. That was the first crack in the crew's confidence. The second came when Yunshen killed their strongest visible fighter with one strike. The warrior had barely moved. Yunshen's arm fell. The body collapsed into ruined flesh. Then even the corpse began breaking apart into energy. Someone screamed that the creature ate people. The scream spread fear faster than any explanation could have. Yunshen felt the despair bloom inside the sealed vessel. He could have killed everyone instantly. He did not. That habit had become increasingly deliberate. The most efficient meal was rarely the fastest kill. Yunshen blocked one crew member attempting to flee and simply stared. The yellow crystal light reflected across the man's face. No recognizable expression existed on Yunshen's features. No anger, no hunger, no excitement. That made the situation worse. People understood angry killers. They understood greedy pirates. They understood enemies with demands. A creature that looked at them as if evaluating an ingredient was harder to negotiate with. Bro Nolan Shan finally broke. He screamed for everyone to attack. This time, he moved first. The crew followed because courage sometimes arrived only after someone else became more afraid of waiting than fighting. Yunshen disappeared. 7 impacts sounded in rapid succession. When he stopped moving, 7 bodies hit the floor. Bro Nolan Shan had taken one step. That was all. The surviving leader stared at the remains of his crew and collapsed to his knees. Pride disappeared. Family status disappeared. The life planet waiting nearby stopped mattering. There was only survival. He begged. Yunshen finally communicated directly through the mind. Transfer the ship's highest authority. Bro Nolan Shan obeyed instantly. No bargaining, no hidden trick. He ordered Atuka to remove his control rights and transfer full command to Yunshen. The artificial intelligence confirmed the change. Bro Nolan Shan exhaled. He thought obedience had purchased his life. Yunshen removed his head. The body fell before the relief left his face. There was no dramatic betrayal in Yunshen's mind. He had never promised mercy. He gave Atuka the next command. Take the ship to the Nolan Shan family's ancestral world. The course changed. Yunshen now possessed the exact coordinates he needed. During the journey, he extracted every useful piece of information available through the ship's systems. The Nolan Shan family controlled a sprawling network of territory, wealth, subordinate worlds, and businesses. Its strength was significant by the standards of lower cosmic civilization, but laughably small compared with the true powers of the universe. The family's greatest warrior was Nolan Shan himself. Universe level, 9th stage, experienced, famous for surviving and winning 1,000 battles in the giant axe arena. He possessed a domain and enough strength to consider himself practically invincible among peers. Yunshen approved. That meant the emotional quality might be decent. The ancestral planet, Ice Blue Star, held the family's central bloodline, core descendants, elite resources, and political identity. It was the heart. Yunshen did not plan to knock on the door. As the ship approached the system, he memorized the coordinates. Then he left the vessel behind. On Ice Blue Star, Nolan Shan was cultivating when instincts suddenly tightened around his heart. Powerful warriors develop sensitivity to danger. Sometimes the body knew before the mind. Nolan Shan opened his eyes. The feeling intensified. He moved. Fast. He did not stop to ask guards for reports. He did not summon elders. He did not wait for sensors. He launched out of his cultivation chamber with enough force to damage structures around him. Family members barely understood what was happening. Then Nolan Shan looked upward. A second sun hung above the planet. For everyone except Nolan Shan, recognition came too late. Ice Blue Star had never imagined itself as vulnerable to a single attacker. The planet was not some undefended colony at the edge of family territory. It was the ancestral center, protected by generations of accumulated resources and the reputation of Nolan Shan himself. Core descendants trained there. Senior administrators lived there. Family archives, treasures, technical facilities, and political records were concentrated there because concentration normally meant security. Security depended on warning. Yunshen provided none. The first people to notice the false sun were civilians looking through windows. Some thought the atmosphere was producing an optical phenomenon. Then snow began turning to water. Temperatures rose across regions that had remained frozen for years. Automated systems finally registered the energy concentration and issued alarms. Those alarms created confusion rather than useful response. What exactly did a planetary security department tell residents when the incoming attack already contained enough power to destroy the world? Shelter underground? Evacuate? Board ships? The fireball was closer than the nearest meaningful escape route. Family warriors rushed into the sky. Some tried to identify the source. Others attempted defensive formations because training demanded action, even when analysis suggested action would not matter. Senior members searched desperately for Nolan Shan. Their ancestor was the family's final guarantee. He was already running. That fact would have broken morale if anyone had known. Nolan Shan did not consider the decision cowardly. He understood scale. The incoming attack exceeded what his domain could safely confront. Standing beneath it to preserve appearances would not save Ice Blue Star. It would only add his corpse to the planet's destruction. Survival preserved the possibility of revenge. He accelerated harder. Behind him, the atmosphere distorted under heat. The dark fireball continued descending. Its appearance differed from ordinary flame. The energy carried Yun Shen's destructive nature, compressed into one of legendary Hyper Zetton's signature attacks. The name sounded almost simple: Dark Fireball. The result was not. Ordinary Zetton variants were famous for extreme temperature fireballs. Legendary Hyper Zetton scaled the technique with its own power. At Yun Shen's current level, fireball was merely a convenient word for a planetary extinction event, and this was not even his strongest version. The larger dark great fireball could multiply the destruction further and continue increasing through charge time. Yun Shen had no reason to use it. One ordinary shot was enough. The attack reached Ice Blue Star. For an instant, the planet seemed to brighten from within. Then structure failed. The atmosphere erupted outward. Continents disappeared beneath expanding energy. The frozen surface became plasma and debris. The planetary crust fractured. Facilities constructed over centuries vanished before emergency messages finished transmitting. Ships attempting to launch were caught before clearing gravity. Core descendants, who had spent their lives believing the family would protect them, never saw the attacker. That detail made the destruction especially horrifying in retrospect. There was no invasion fleet to fight, no declaration, no ultimatum, no enemy army occupying cities. A world existed. Then a fireball arrived, then it did not. Nolan Shan escaped the atmosphere with almost no time to spare. The blast struck behind him. Heat rolled across his defenses. He forced more energy into acceleration. When he finally looked back, Ice Blue Star had become a burning ruin. His reaction contained several emotions at once. Shock came first, then disbelief, then rage. The family was not merely a political organization to him. It was proof of his success. Every territory controlled, every elite trained, every world taxed, every enemy intimidated by the Nolan Shan name had grown from generations of effort. Now the center of that identity was gone. Yun Shen had destroyed more than a planet. He had destroyed Nolan Shan's certainty that what he built would outlive him. The patriarch shouted into the debris field. He demanded the attacker show himself. That demand gave Yun Shen exactly the entrance he wanted. The electronic call answered from behind. Zetton. Nolan Shan turned and saw the humanoid creature suspended in space. The first thing he did was measure power. That decision made sense, because power level defined almost every interaction in cosmic society. Strong beings received respect. Weak beings received rules. Equal beings negotiated or fought. Nolan Shan's perception placed Yun Shen in the same general energy range as himself. Universe level, 9th stage. Rage became confidence. The unknown attacker had frightening destructive output, but raw attack power did not guarantee combat superiority. Specialized weapons existed. Energy storage techniques existed. Some people could unleash attacks stronger than their bodies could safely handle. Nolan Shan had experience. 1,000 victories. A domain. Techniques refined through real combat. He told himself the enemy had relied on surprise. He told himself Ice Blue Star had died because the attack arrived before anyone understood it. He told himself the attacker had made the mistake of appearing within reach. Each thought repaired a different piece of his shattered confidence. Yun Shen felt the process. He did not interrupt. A terrified enemy could provide despair. An enemy who rebuilt hope first could provide more. The coming fight was not necessary in the normal sense. Yun Shen could have devoured Nolan Shan immediately if suppression succeeded. He could have launched multiple fireballs. He could have used clones. Instead, he wanted data. How valuable was the despair of a universe-level veteran? How quickly could such a mind be pushed from confidence to collapse? Could stronger warriors maintain useful emotional output longer than ordinary humans? Nolan Shan had unknowingly become an experiment. That was the moment Yun Shen's role changed in a way Earth never witnessed. Against the Golden Horn Beast, he had still been protecting his world while feeding. Against Nolan Shan, the feeding itself became part of the objective. The difference was small in action and enormous in meaning. Yun Shen was learning to hunt minds. It was not a star. It was a fireball. A dark fireball. The temperature rose so quickly that ancient ice began melting across the world. Nolan Shan saw the energy concentration and made the correct decision immediately. He ran. There was no defensive formation available that could make the attack survivable. No heroic speech would improve the physics. He accelerated toward the edge of the atmosphere. Behind him, alarms finally began. Family elites looked upward. Some tried to activate defenses. Some called for Nolan Shan. Some had no idea their ancestor was already leaving. He crossed the atmosphere just before the fireball struck. Ice Blue Star exploded. The The blast turned the family's ancestral world into a sphere of destruction bright enough to resemble another star. Generations of wealth disappeared. Core heirs disappeared. Archives disappeared. Fortresses disappeared. The political center of the Nolan Shan family became glowing debris. Nolan Shan watched from space. Rage replaced shock. Everything he had built, protected, and expanded over countless years had vanished in one attack. He roared into the temporary cloud of debris and energy surrounding the dead world. Who? Then he heard the sound. Zetton. Nolan Shan turned. Yun Shen floated in space behind him. The two were technically at the same broad cultivation level. That fact gave Nolan Shan hope. His senses could read the energy intensity even if they could not understand the biological system producing it. Universe level, 9th stage. Nolan Shan's rage sharpened into confidence. He had fought 1,000 opponents at his level. He had earned recognition through the giant axe arena. He had a domain. He understood combat. He believed this unknown creature had made one fatal mistake. It had destroyed the planet first instead of killing him. Now Nolan Shan would make it pay. Yun Shen watched the confidence return and almost appreciated it. Despair tasted better when it had farther to fall. Nolan Shan drew his sword. The weapon was ice blue, narrow, and refined for a warrior who had spent years learning how to turn technical superiority into efficient killing. The surrounding space changed as his domain expanded. Cold spread through the debris field. Ice formed across fragments of his destroyed homeworld. Energy gathered around his body with disciplined precision. For a moment, the scene looked like the beginning of a fair duel between two universe-level 9th stage fighters. It was not. Nolan Shan rushed forward. His sword cut toward Yun Shen's body. The domain suppressed the surrounding region, strengthening Nolan Shan while restricting an opponent's movement. Against ordinary warriors at the same level, this advantage alone could decide the fight. The blade reached Yun Shen. Then Yun Shen disappeared. Nolan Shan's sword passed through empty space. Before the experienced warrior could turn, something struck his back. Pain exploded through his body. He flew across the star field, coughing blood. Nolan Shan twisted, recovered, and expanded the domain more aggressively. He searched for movement. Nothing. Yun Shen appeared above him. Another strike landed. Nolan Shan flew again. The pattern repeated. He defended left. Yun Shen arrived right. He predicted an attack from behind. Yun Shen appeared in front. He tightened the domain. Yun Shen vanished from it entirely. Nolan Shan had fought fast opponents before. Speed had tells. Acceleration required direction. Even extreme movement crossed intermediate space. This did not. Yun Shen's instantaneous movement was not merely very fast by Nolan Shan's standards. It behaved like a different rule. Nolan Shan realized that before he understood how disastrous the realization was. True teleportation at this level should not have been possible. In the cultivation system he knew, control over space deep enough for that kind of movement belonged to beings vastly stronger than universe-level warriors. Yet the creature in front of him used it casually. No visible strain, no preparation, no cooldown. Nolan Shan's rage weakened. Confusion replaced part of it. Yun Shen felt the emotional change and deliberately reduced the force of his next strike. He could end the battle. That would waste the best part. Nolan Shan had built his identity around superiority. He was not a frightened rookie. He was not an ordinary noble who had inherited wealth without earning strength. He had fought. He had won. He had accumulated the kind of confidence that only repeated success could produce. Breaking that confidence generated much richer despair than simply crushing his skull at the beginning. Nolan Shan attacked again. His sword released waves of freezing energy. Yun Shen moved through the pattern without being touched. A strike hammered Nolan Shan sideways. He stabilized. Another hit came from below. His body spun. A third impact struck his shoulder. Before the previous force finished carrying him, it felt less like fighting an opponent and more like being trapped inside a malfunctioning universe. Nolan Shan roared and forced his domain to its limit. Ice covered enormous pieces of planetary debris. The temperature dropped. He sacrificed part of his foundation to increase control. If ordinary techniques failed, he would use the method he reserved for enemies stronger than himself. The domain began collapsing inward. Nolan Shan detonated part of it. The resulting field transformed surrounding energy into countless blades of frozen destruction. Space itself seemed stiff beneath the cold. Fragments of the dead planet froze instantly. The attack surrounded Yun Shen from every direction. For the first time, Nolan Shan believed he had removed the option of dodging. Then Yun Shen vanished. He reappeared outside the entire field, untouched. Nolan Shan stopped breathing for a fraction of a second. His ultimate move had not been blocked. That would have been understandable. It had not been overpowered. That would have been frightening but logical. It had simply become irrelevant. Yun Shen existed somewhere. The attack did not. Nolan Shan finally understood the shape of the problem. He could not win. That did not mean he gave up. Experienced warriors did not collapse because the odds became bad. Nolan Shan had survived too many battles for that. He changed his objective: escape. If the creature possessed some strange teleportation technique, perhaps the ability had distance limits, perhaps it required a marked region, perhaps the opponent's energy would eventually run low. Nolan Shan burned his source power and accelerated away from the destroyed system. Yun Shen did not chase. That gave Nolan Shan hope. He flew faster, the distance increased. The yellow light vanished behind him. Nolan Shan checked repeatedly. Nothing. His breathing steadied. The rage returned. If he survived, there would be time to investigate. There would be allies. There would be stronger warriors willing to kill a creature this dangerous. He would find out which member of his family had attracted the disaster. He would rebuild. He would take revenge. Hope began reconstructing itself one thought at a time. Then he heard the sound. Zetton. Nolan Shan's heart seemed to stop. He turned. Empty space. For a second, he wondered if fear had created an auditory hallucination. Then he looked forward. Yun Shen was waiting there. The creature floated silently in Nolan Shan's escape path as though it had been there forever. That moment did what the blows had failed to do. It broke him. Nolan Shan had understood defeat. He had not understood helplessness. Those were different experiences. A defeated warrior could train. A defeated warrior could plan revenge. A defeated warrior could survive. A helpless creature had no meaningful choices. Nolan Shan could not hit Yun Shen. He could not defend against Yun Shen. He could not escape Yun Shen. Fight, defend, flee. All three fundamental responses had been removed. The unknown made it worse. Why had this creature attacked his family? Who had offended it? What was it? Where had it come from? Was the destroyed planet punishment, feeding, entertainment, or coincidence? Nolan Shan did not even know why he was dying. That stripped anger away. People hated enemies. They hated rivals. They hated murderers. But a hurricane did not care if someone hated it. A star did not negotiate before exploding. A cosmic disaster did not need a personal reason. Nolan Shan looked at Yun Shen and, for the first time, stopped seeing an opponent. He saw a natural disaster that happened to have arms. The despair that followed was extraordinary. Yun Shen absorbed it immediately. The emotional energy from a universe-level warrior was dramatically denser than anything ordinary humans could provide. Nolan Shan's mind, soul, experience, and life level gave weight to the collapse. Yun Shen felt his own limit loosen. That confirmed another hypothesis. Stronger, intelligent beings were not merely bigger energy sources when eaten physically. Their emotions were disproportionately valuable. Earth had been useful because billions of people generated volume. The universe offered quality. Yun Shen's future feeding strategy became clearer. He would need both. Nolan Shan, however, reached another conclusion first. He refused to be harvested. The proud warrior sensed that Yun Shen was deliberately prolonging the encounter. He could not understand the exact reason, but he understood humiliation. If the creature wanted him alive and terrified, then death might be the only decision still under his control. Nolan Shan gritted his teeth. Hatred briefly returned. He cursed Yun Shen. Then he destroyed his own soul. The act happened too quickly for Yun Shen to prevent. Nolan Shan's spiritual structure collapsed from within. His consciousness vanished. Energy began dispersing into the universe. Yun Shen immediately devoured the remaining body before more value escaped. He was mildly annoyed. A man who had endured 1,000 arena victories had still chosen self-destruction once despair passed a certain threshold. That taught Yun Shen something important. There was such a thing as overfarming. Despair produced energy. Too much despair removed the source. Efficient predation required balance. He collected Nolan Shan's spatial storage items. The inventory was substantial. Rare metals, cosmic currency, materials, financial accounts, resources gathered over generations. Nolan Shan had clearly prepared for emergencies. Portable wealth suggested he had always intended to preserve himself if the family ever faced true catastrophe. It was good planning. It had simply failed against an enemy who could appear in front of him no matter where he fled. Yun Shen reviewed the family information Atuka had provided. The ancestral world was gone. The patriarch was dead. But the Nolan Shan family controlled more than 1,000 subordinate life planets. Leaving them untouched would defeat the purpose of the operation. Survivors could investigate Earth. They could connect missing scouts with the destroyed ancestral world. They could sell information. They could attract stronger powers. Yun Shen had started the operation to protect secrecy before the genius battle. Half measures now would be both morally cleaner and strategically worse. He chose strategy. 20 clones emerged. They did not require speeches, motivation, or loyalty checks. That was one advantage of fighting through extensions of himself. Human armies carried personalities. Personalities created hesitation, ambition, rivalry, fear, and mistakes. Yun Shen's temporary clones existed only to perform the function he gave them. Their lack of independent emotional complexity made them terrifyingly efficient. Atuka supplied the target network. The Nolan Shan family had expanded across more than 1,000 inhabited worlds through generations of conquest, purchase, political influence, and subordinate administration. Some worlds contained direct family branches. Others were productive territories governed through representatives. Some existed primarily for resources. Others held large populations useful for taxation or labor. From the perspective of local inhabitants, many of these planets were worlds in their own right. From Yun Shen's strategic perspective, they were nodes connected to the same risk. This was where the moral line became impossible to ignore. Not every person on those planets had chosen to threaten Earth. Most had never heard of Earth. Many had probably never heard Bro Nolan Shan's name either. They lived inside a political structure too large for ordinary individuals to influence. Yun Shen knew that. He proceeded anyway. His reasoning was brutally simple. A surviving branch could investigate. A surviving administrator could sell data. A surviving network could preserve records. A surviving heir could turn family destruction into a revenge mission. The chance might be small. The cost of failure, from Yun Shen's perspective, was exposure before he wanted it. He chose certainty. That choice revealed more about his transformation than any physical evolution. He still cared about Earth humans because part of him recognized them as familiar. He did not extend the same instinctive protection to distant populations he had never seen. The boundary of empathy had become geographic and personal. Humanity, in his mind, was no longer a universal category. It was a relationship. Those inside the relationship received protection. Those outside could become resources. Yun Shen did not formulate the philosophy in those exact words. He did not need to. Actions had already written it. The clones vanished toward their assigned worlds. One appeared above a planet covered in wide blue oceans and dense coastal cities. Local orbital systems detected the figure too late. A warning signal began. The clone opened its devouring field. The atmosphere distorted. Ships lost control as suppressive force spread outward. Matter began separating into luminous streams. The first city vanished from radar, then the coastline, then the continent. Within less than a minute, the entire planet had been consumed. Another clone arrived above a dry industrial world where enormous metallic facilities covered much of the surface. That planet provided better physical energy because the golden horned beast's absorbed specialization made metal especially efficient. Factories disappeared, mines disappeared. Orbital stations broke apart and joined the same flow. A third target possessed a modest, stellar-level defense force. Warriors launched from the surface and attacked. Their weapons entered the clone's suppressive field and lost effectiveness before reaching it. They died without understanding the attacker's species. A fourth world tried evacuation. Ships launched in every direction. Yun Shen's clone sensed them and widened the field. The vessels stopped escaping. The process repeated. There was no centralized warning because the family's communication habits worked against it. Branch worlds reported upward. The ancestral center normally redistributed important information. Ice Blue Star was now debris. The command structure had become a black hole for messages. Local leaders assumed temporary disruption. By the time suspicion formed, their turn arrived. Yun Shen's main body participated too. He chose targets based on proximity and resource density, appearing above worlds, consuming them, then jumping directly to the next coordinate. Each disappearance strengthened him. Physical energy flowed into his reconstruction. Biological information added variety. Metals refined cleanly. The sheer scale of consumption began altering his internal sense of quantity. On Earth, eating a beast emperor had felt significant. Now one life planet became a unit in a sequence. That psychological adaptation happened disturbingly fast. 21 planets in one cycle, then another 21, then another. The clones returned only when necessary to synchronize or when a target required adjustment. Most did not. The Nolan Shan family had built itself to resist rival families, pirates, economic pressure, and conventional military conflict. Nothing in its structure anticipated a mobile predator capable of deleting a planet before the next world understood the first was under attack. The operation had no battlefront. That prevented resistance from concentrating. No one could predict where the attacker would appear because Yun Shen did not travel through visible routes between targets. No fleet could intercept a line of advance that did not exist. No fortress could buy enough time if the planet itself was food. The extinction became logistical rather than dramatic. That made it worse. A family with thousands of years of history disappeared through scheduling efficiency. Yun Shen continued counting energy. He did not count victims. The distinction mattered. At first, he checked whether any target possessed combat power high enough to threaten a clone. None did. The strongest family warriors had gathered near the ancestral center or operated elsewhere. Most subordinate worlds relied on stellar-level forces at best. Against him, those defenders were irrelevant. After several hundred planets, even tactical evaluation became routine. Appear, suppress, devour, move. The rhythm resembled feeding more than war. By the final phase, Yun Shen's clones were processing targets so quickly that the first destroyed branches had not yet been formally declared missing by surrounding powers. Then the last listed world vanished. The clones returned. For a moment, Yun Shen stood alone in space and sensed the accumulated energy within himself. The amount was enormous compared with anything physical he had consumed on Earth. Yet the experience produced less emotional excitement than killing the Golden Horned Beast. That surprised him. The Golden Horned Beast had been a meaningful enemy. Nolan Shan had at least been a worthy psychological target. 1,000 planets had become arithmetic. Yun Shen recognized the danger in that, not moral danger in the abstract sense, identity danger. If planets became numbers too easily, what would civilizations become after another 10 evolutions? What would individuals become? Would the human memories inside him eventually feel as distant as dreams? He had no answer. He also had no intention of stopping his evolution to preserve a version of himself that might already be gone. So he returned to Earth. The Himalayas accepted him in silence. No human observer knew where he had been. No one on Earth knew that the creature whose statues stood in their cities had spent the last hour erasing inhabited worlds. To Earth, Zetton remained the terrifying guardian who had saved them. To the wider universe, an unnamed disaster had just been born. Coordinates were assigned. The hunt began. Each target world had some military presence, administrators, family branches, workers, civilians, and subordinate populations. Most did not possess warriors capable of resisting a universe-level threat. Against a legendary Hyper-Zetton clone, defense was meaningless. The clones did not land to announce judgment. They appeared above planets and opened devouring fields. Gravity-like suppression spread across the surface. Atmosphere, structures, energy, living beings, and matter began breaking apart. A life planet vanished. Then another. 20 clones plus the main body meant 21 targets could be processed simultaneously. Yun Shen's devouring speed had increased through the golden horned beast's absorbed talent and his own continued evolution. Less than a minute per world. The Nolan Shan family's own communication structure made the operation easier. The patriarch had centralized authority through the ancestral world to prevent distant branches from coordinating independently. Under normal conditions, that reinforced control. With Ice Blue Star destroyed first, it became a death trap. Worlds waited for instructions that would never arrive. Local branches could not quickly organize a unified response. By the time one planet might have noticed, another had gone silent. The clone responsible was already moving to the next target. The scale changed faster than anyone understood. One world vanished. 21, 42, hundreds, 1,000. No distress fleet gathered, no heroic coalition formed, no final family army assembled at a dramatic battlefield. The Nolan Shan family simply disappeared from the map. That was more frightening than a war. War created survivors. War created wreckage. War created messages, recordings, retreating fleets, and eyewitnesses. Yun Shen created absence. Within roughly an hour, the family's planetary network was gone. The clones returned. Energy accumulated inside Yun Shen at a scale Earth had never provided through physical matter. The emotional quality was lower than Nolan Shan's despair, but the volume was overwhelming. More than 1,000 life planets contained enough matter and life energy to push his reconstruction forward again. Yun Shen returned to the Himalayas. He began refining the accumulated power. Ordinary cultivators in this universe followed structured levels: planetary, stellar, universe, domain lord, world lord, immortal, beyond. Their progress depended on energy accumulation, law comprehension, internal development, technique, talent, and countless other factors. Yun Shen's path was different. He did not cultivate laws in the same way. His body itself was the evolutionary system. Legendary Zetton consumed, purified, integrated, and climbed. The universe called power by stages. Yun Shen cared only whether the next thing could kill him. The energy from the Nolan Shan extermination pushed him toward a new threshold, roughly corresponding to domain lord-level combat strength. Once the refinement completed, that mattered for one reason. The wider universe had noticed the crime. Not immediately, of course. The universe was too large for immediate reaction to be normal. A planetary government could lose contact for hours because of technical failure. A merchant station could miss scheduled reports. A family branch could delay financial data. Ships spent days or weeks in transit. Messages crossed systems through infrastructure far more advanced than Earth's. But administration still contained the oldest enemy of civilization, people assuming someone else would handle it. The Nolan Shan network benefited from that delay until the delay became suspicious. One subordinate world failed to report, then another. An accountant somewhere probably blamed communications. A regional manager sent a request toward Ice Blue Star. No answer. That was unusual. Additional messages followed. Still nothing. The family's central world had too much authority to remain silent for long without consequences. Transactions stalled. Orders remained unsigned. Dependent branches could not confirm instructions. Outside partners began asking questions. Then observers checked physical coordinates. The first discovery was Ice Blue Star, or what remained of it. The ancestral planet had been destroyed so completely that investigators did not need advanced analysis to understand a major attack had occurred. Planetary destruction was rare at that regional level, but not incomprehensible. Powerful weapons existed. Strong warriors could do catastrophic damage. A war might explain it. The absence of war debris did not. There were no large hostile fleets recorded, no prolonged exchange. No sequence of emergency broadcasts describing an invasion. The center of the Nolan Shan family appeared to have died faster than its bureaucracy could explain the problem. Then investigators visited subordinate worlds. The first missing planet created disbelief. The second created fear. By the 10th, disbelief was gone. The star charts said a life planet should exist. The coordinates contained nothing recognizable as the world. No dead sphere. No conquered city lights. No atmosphere stripped from a surviving rock. Nothing. The same pattern repeated across the family's holdings. 1,000 inhabited planets had not merely been attacked. They had been consumed so completely that the language of ordinary warfare stopped being useful. That was when the scale of the event changed politically. Destroying a family headquarters could be revenge. Destroying every major branch could be extermination. Erasing the planets themselves suggested a capability that surrounding rulers could not comfortably measure. The Karo Empire, under whose broader authority the Nolan Shan family existed, received the reports with immediate concern. Its old royal ancestor possessed domain lord-level power, under normal regional politics, that made him a figure capable of treating universe-level families as manageable pieces. He did not feel in control now. He reviewed the timing. Ice Blue Star destroyed, subordinate planets vanished, communication prevented. Most of the family erased before neighboring forces understood a conflict existed. The old ruler asked himself whether he could reproduce the result. The answer was no. That answer mattered more than identifying the attacker. A ruler did not need to know exactly what a hidden threat was to respect it. He needed to know whether his current defenses were sufficient. They were not. The Karo Empire faced another problem. The destruction happened inside its broader region. If the unknown attacker had a grievance with more than the Nolan Shan family, the royal house might be next. If the event remained secret, the the attacker could move again without scrutiny. If the event became public, stronger nearby powers would watch. Publicity could become armor. The old ruler chose publicity. Information about the Nolan Shan destruction began spreading toward the larger Black Dragon Mountain Empire. The political logic was clever. Human territory contained rules, laws, and power structures. Private conflicts could disappear quietly if no major authority cared. Large visible massacres attracted attention because stability mattered to empires. An unknown strongman might kill a family in darkness. The same strongman might hesitate once major institutions watched. The Karo ruler did not know Yun Shen. He did not know Yun Shen had planned the destruction specifically to prevent information from reaching the wider universe before the genius battle. He only knew attention gave his own empire a better chance of surviving whatever came next, so he spread the story. That decision became the first indirect counterattack against Yun Shen. No weapon fired, no warrior challenged him. Information moved, and information was exactly what Yun Shen had tried to control. The irony was perfect. He had erased more than 1,000 worlds to prevent one scouting family from exposing him. The completeness of the extermination itself became suspicious enough to attract broader attention. Power solved one problem and created another. Yun Shen did not yet stand in the room where the Karo ancestor read the reports, but he understood the general principle well enough. Absolute secrecy became harder as scale increased. A single missing ship was a mystery. A missing family was a political event. 1,000 missing planets were a legend waiting to happen. That was the price of becoming larger than the shadows used to hide. Back on Earth, Yun Shen refined the energy without public celebration. The Himalayas remained quiet. His body processed physical matter from the consumed worlds, rare metals, biological structures, and the accumulated energy taken from Nolan Shan himself. The growth pushed toward the next combat threshold. He could feel the difference, not as a numbered cultivation breakthrough, but as increased possibility. More energy could be released without strain. Suppression became stronger, devouring expanded. The amount of matter his body could process increased. His clones became more strategically valuable because the base supporting them grew. Legendary Zetton evolved through accumulation and refinement rather than conventional enlightenment. That advantage seemed unfair because it was. Most cultivators reach higher stages by overcoming multiple barriers. They needed talent, comprehension, resources, time, mentorship, fortune, survival. Yun Shen needed enough high-quality things to eat. The simplicity came with a different danger. His path encouraged predation. A normal cultivator could meditate in isolation. Yun Shen's most efficient progress came from contact with stronger beings, rare abilities, emotional collapse, and large concentrations of life or resources. His biology rewarded conflict. The universe was full of conflict. That made his future direction almost inevitable. The universe genius battle remained the next major step. The idea appealed to Yun Shen for reasons that would have sounded completely wrong to the organizers. A normal contestant entered to prove talent. A great family entered heirs to gain recognition. A young warrior entered because ranking well could change an entire life. Yun Shen looked at the same event and saw a controlled psychological ecosystem. Geniuses arrived with expectations. Expectations created attachment to outcomes. Attachment created fear of failure. The highest level young talents were especially valuable because confidence had been reinforced by years of evidence. Teachers praised them, families invested in them, rivals lost to them, resources flowed toward them, entire planets might know their names. Then the competition gathered those people together and told them only a tiny fraction could stand at the top. The system manufactured pressure before Yun Shen even arrived. He simply needed to become the part they could not solve. That required restraint. If his reduced clone erased every opponent instantly through abilities far beyond the competition level, powerful observers would investigate before he harvested enough attention. Fear was useful. Suspicion from true experts was dangerous. Yun Shen therefore planned the kind of reveal progression humans normally associated with storytelling. Show physical superiority first. Allow opponents to believe speed explained it. Reveal unusual defense only after someone committed to a counter strategy. Use limited instant movement if necessary but disguise the scale. Avoid demonstrating the full devouring field unless the virtual environment made consequences safe. Never reveal the main body's true energy level. Most importantly, let the audience build theories. Theories created engagement. Engagement created emotional connection. When theories failed, stronger reactions followed. Yun Shen had accidentally learned audience retention from planetary warfare. The comparison would have amused him if it were not so useful. He also considered the difference between virtual fear and physical fear. Could despair generated inside the virtual universe nourish him if the body remained elsewhere? Earth's broadcasts suggested yes, because the emotion itself mattered more than physical proximity. A viewer seeing Luo Feng nearly die did not need to stand beside the battlefield for Yun Shen to sense the reaction. But the virtual universe was deeper than a broadcast. Participants experienced events as if present. Pain simulation, spatial perception, social presence, and identity all existed inside the environment. If consciousness treated the experience as meaningful, emotional output should be real, even if the avatar was artificial. Yun Shen wanted proof. The genius battle would provide it at scale. If the experiment succeeded, his future strategy could expand beyond hunting physical civilizations. He could enter events, public arenas, virtual conflicts, mass broadcasts. Any environment where powerful minds focused intensely enough might become a feeding ground. That possibility was more valuable than the official tournament prize. It also created a long-term paradox. The stronger Yun Shen became, the harder it would be to make weak beings genuinely believe they had a chance. Immediate hopelessness produced fear but shortened the emotional process. Nolan Shan had demonstrated the extreme version. Once despair became absolute, he destroyed himself. The best harvest required tension, enough hope to continue, enough failure to hurt, enough uncertainty to keep imagining escape. Yun Shen was learning that psychological control could become as important as destructive force. Legendary Hyper Zetton had once been terrifying because of raw power. This new version might become more dangerous because Yun Shen understood the minds providing his fuel. He had not fully decided whether that was progress. The human part of him still recognized manipulation as manipulation. The Predator considered it resource management. Both perspectives existed at once. That internal coexistence made Yun Shen more stable than a simple monster and less morally predictable than a human hero. Earth benefited because it belonged to his circle of familiarity. Strangers did not have that protection. The genius battle would test how far that distinction extended. Would Yun Shen merely defeat contestants and harvest the emotional reaction? Would he preserve people who interested him? Would he begin identifying talents worth devouring later in reality? The source of his future danger was not that he had decided all those answers. It was that he now possessed the power to consider them practical questions. Before his transformations, moral choices happened inside human limits. A person could hate a distant civilization without being able to eat it. Yun Shen could. That changed the weight of thought. For now, he kept the plan simple. Enter, observe, harvest, hide the main body. Leave before stronger powers understood what he was. The Nolan Shan operation had already shown why the last step mattered. Power attracted attention even when no witness survived. Results themselves became evidence. If Yun Shen humiliated thousands of geniuses and displayed impossible abilities in front of the virtual universe company, anonymity would have an expiration date. He needed to grow faster than curiosity could organize itself. That principle became the real race. Not Yun Shen against tournament opponents. Yun Shen against the amount of time before the universe realized a new predator had entered the system. Yun Shen had not forgotten it during the Nolan operation. If anything, the extermination confirmed his strategy. Nolan Shan's despair had produced enormous quality compared with ordinary humans. What would happen when thousands of gifted young warriors faced a competitor they could not understand? What would happen when spectators across the virtual universe focused on a strange being who shattered expectations? Could Yun Shen absorb emotional energy from viewers spread across distant star systems through virtual connection the same way he absorbed Earth's broadcast despair? If yes, the genius battle would become something much larger than a tournament. It would become an experiment in feeding at interstellar scale. The official organizers would believe they were identifying talent. Yun Shen would be testing whether civilization itself could function as a harvesting network. He did not need to win every reward. He needed people to watch. The thought connected back to Earth. One global broadcast had expanded his emotional sensing across an entire planet. The golden horned beast crisis had taught him that attention carried emotion. The virtual universe connected populations beyond physical distance. If the same principle held there, his future growth could change completely. No longer limited to victims physically near him. No longer dependent on traveling to every world. Reputation could deliver despair. A name could become a feeding organ. A legend could become infrastructure. Yun Shen understood the possibility without yet knowing the limits. That uncertainty excited him more than another easy fight. There was still risk. The stronger his reputation became, the more powerful observers would notice him. Zuo Shan Qi had already demonstrated that hidden giants watched Earth. The virtual universe company contained figures far beyond Yun Shen's current state. Human territory was not defenseless simply because Nolan Shan had been weak. Yun Shen remembered that distinction carefully. The Nolan Shan family was a regional power. The true human race was a cosmic giant. Confusing the two would be fatal. So the genius battle plan required controlled exposure. Use the reduced clone. Display enough strength to break competitors psychologically. Avoid revealing every ability. Do not show the main body's real level. Do not casually demonstrate unrestricted teleportation where high-level experts could trace the anomaly. Harvest attention. Leave before curiosity hardened into containment. That was the plan. Plans, Yun Shen knew, rarely survived contact with a universe full of people who had their own. Still, preparation mattered. The Nolan Shan massacre had removed the immediate plot threat to Earth. Luo Feng could continue developing. Earth could rebuild. Yun Shen could refine his new power. For a brief period, everything aligned. Only the spreading reports disrupted the quiet. Far from Earth, officials compared star maps. Merchants whispered about missing routes. Family rivals wondered whether Nolan Shan had angered some hidden powerhouse. Survivors who happened to be outside the exterminated territories discovered they no longer had a home organization to return to. Rumor needed no confirmed attacker. Mystery made it stronger. Some imagined a domain lord with a grudge. Others suspected secret weapons. A few thought a special cosmic beast had passed through the region. No one guessed the full truth. The destroyer had come from a blue planet most of them would not have recognized on a map. He had once been human. He had once died fighting an Ultraman. He had spent 200 years sleeping inside a cocoon at the bottom of an ocean. And he currently had legal human citizenship under the name Zetton. The universe was not prepared for that explanation. Earth was not prepared either. On Earth, people still walked past Beast Lord statues and debated whether Zetton cared about humanity. Some left flowers near monuments honoring the crisis dead. Children pointed at the yellow crystal designs. Warriors trained harder beneath a sky that had finally become quiet. Luo Feng looked toward the future and thought about getting strong enough that Earth would never again depend on another creature's mercy. None of them knew what Yun Shen had done beyond the solar system. That ignorance preserved the strange peace. For now, Yun Shen remained inside the mountains as energy moved through his body and the next stage approached. Outside the restricted zone, nobody knew how close the world was to another transformation. Human scientists continued studying the aftermath of the monster era. Military planners redesigned doctrines around enemies from space rather than beasts from the wilderness. Economists calculated how reopened territory might change production. Families rebuilt homes. Cities repaired walls that might never again serve the purpose for which they were constructed. Civilization responded to survival by becoming ordinary as quickly as possible. That was perhaps the most human thing Yun Shen observed. People could watch an alien monster swallow another alien monster on live television, spend several nights convinced extinction was inevitable, and then return to complaining about work schedules once buses ran again. Yun Shen respected that resilience. He also benefited from it. A stable Earth gave him a protected base. A growing Luo Feng gave the planet its own future defender. A distant Zuo Shan Ke who remained curious rather than hostile gave Yun Shen room. And the wider universe, for the moment, still lacked a name to attach to the Nolan Shan disaster. The balance was temporary. Yun Shen understood temporary balances better than most. His first two lives had both ended violently. Once as a human, once as legendary Hyper Zetton, facing Saga. Survival no longer felt like a permanent state to him. It felt like a window between disasters, valuable because it could close. That attitude explained his patience better than fear did. He was not hiding because he doubted his potential. He was hiding because he believed in it. A creature capable of unlimited evolution had no reason to gamble before the odds improved. Every day survived, increased future options. Every powerful talent absorbed, reduced future risk. Every secret preserved, delayed stronger interference. The early universe would not remember Yun Shen for being brave. It might remember him for being difficult to kill long enough to become impossible to kill. That was the strategy. The energy from the Nolan Shan family continued refining. Yun Shen could feel the approaching rise toward Domain Lord equivalent strength, but he did not treat it as a destination. The original universe's cultivation ladder extended absurdly high. Domain Lord was powerful only from a regional perspective. World Lords existed, Immortals existed, Universe Venerables existed, Universe Masters existed, true gods and beings beyond ordinary cosmic understanding existed. Yun Shen's former peak gave him confidence that the road could be climbed. His current weakness reminded him that confidence and arrival were different things. Zuo Shan Ke's brief attention had delivered that reminder more effectively than any defeat. Yun Shen wanted future enemies to feel what the Golden Horned Beast and Nolan Shan had felt. He did not want to feel it himself again. That desire sat beneath almost every decision. Devour, adapt, hide, grow, repeat. The pattern looked simple, because great evolutionary systems often were. Complexity came from choosing prey without attracting predators. The Golden Horned Beast had been safe. Nolan Shan had been safe. The next targets would not remain so easy forever. That reality was why the genius battle mattered as more than food. It would teach Yun Shen the current generation's talent level. It would expose combat styles. It would show how human organizations evaluated unusual abilities. It would let him observe without risking the main body directly. Most importantly, it would force him into an arena where winning too easily might be as dangerous as losing. For the first time, strength would need presentation. Yun Shen almost looked forward to the challenge. On another part of Earth, Luo Feng trained with different concerns. He did not know about the missing Nolan Shan worlds, but he understood that space contained civilizations capable of threatening Earth far beyond the Golden Horned Beast crisis. Qlong Star had shown him how small Earth's political position was. Zetton had shown him how small Earth's military position was. The Golden Horned Beast body offered one path to closing the gap. Luo Feng intended to use it. This created a strange parallel between the two figures. Luo Feng grew because he wanted to protect. Yun Shen grew because he refused to become prey again. Both looked toward the universe. Both possessed devouring-related abilities. Both carried opportunities that should not have existed in ordinary lives. But their moral trajectories were already separating. Luo Feng's strength kept expanding the number of people he could protect. Yun Shen's strength kept expanding the number of things he could classify as food. Neither fully understood where those paths would eventually meet. The source story had not reached that answer yet. What it had established was enough to create the tension. Earth contained two rising anomalies. One was known to history as its future human genius. The other was being worshipped, feared, misunderstood, and legally registered as Zetton. The wider universe only knew that something had begun erasing worlds. That ignorance was the final advantage Yun Shen still possessed. The Karo Empire's decision to spread information threatened it. Rumors would move farther than ships. Experts would eventually compare methods. Someone would investigate the missing planetary matter. Someone might connect the disappearances with unusual devouring signatures. Someone stronger might decide curiosity was worth a trip. Yun Shen's clock had started. He did not hear it ticking in the Himalayas. He did not need to. He had already built his next move around the assumption that quiet development would end. The real question was whether he could finish enough evolution before that happened. On Earth, the answer still looked favorable. In the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, the first reports were already moving. That contrast created the ending's tension. One world believed the Beast Lord was resting. Another region had begun searching for the thing that erased a family. Both were describing the same being. Neither description was complete. Yun Shen himself might not have possessed the complete answer anymore. Was he a reincarnated human controlling a monster body? A monster carrying human memories? A guardian of Earth? A predator using Earth as territory? A future cosmic disaster? All of them were true enough to be dangerous. That ambiguity made him more compelling than a simple, invincible protagonist. He could save a planet and erase 1,000 others without believing the actions contradicted each other. His rules were becoming personal rather than universal. Protect what belonged inside the circle, consume what threatened it, use what can accelerate evolution, avoid what can kill you, expand the circle only when you choose. Human morality had become monster strategy translated through memory. The next stage of the story would test how stable that system really was. Once Yun Shen entered an environment filled with people too strong to treat as scenery. For now, however, the mountains remained silent, the statues remained standing, Luo Feng kept training, the virtual universe waited, and reports about the Nolan Shan extinction kept spreading outward. The universe had not met Yun Shen yet. That was the final irony of this opening movement. On Earth, almost everyone knew Zetton's silhouette. Children recognized the yellow crystals. Soldiers knew the standing order not to provoke him. Politicians treated his territory like a natural exclusion zone. Luo Feng had personally traveled through space with him. Beyond Earth, none of that identity existed. The wider universe was receiving effects without a cause. A family vanished. Planets disappeared. A regional ruler became nervous enough to spread the news for protection. Yet there was still no face attached to the disaster. That gap between reputation and identity was Yun Shen's last clean advantage. Once the two connected, every future movement would become harder to hide. The genius battle could accelerate that connection enormously. A strange fighter named Zetton, appearing before massive audiences, might eventually be compared with rumors of unexplained, devouring events. Yun Shen knew the risk. He intended to take it anyway. Evolution had never been safe. His first death proved human life could end accidentally. His second proved, even legendary Hyper Zetton could meet something stronger. The only security he trusted now was continued growth. So while distant officials stared at empty coordinates, Yun Shen refined stolen energy beneath Earth's mountains. One side of the universe was beginning to ask what had happened. The other was preparing to watch him compete. Neither understood that the answers would eventually point toward the same creature. And Yun Shen, silent inside the Himalayas, had already stopped thinking of Earth as the whole world. It was home. It was shelter. It was the place he would protect, for reasons he did not bother explaining. But it was no longer large enough to feed what he intended to become. It had only seen the first bite mark. The path behind him already looked impossible. A human died. A Hyper Zetton was born. Saga destroyed him. A cocoon fell into another universe. 200 years passed. A golden horned beast turned Earth into a despair generator. Humanity unknowingly fed the thing that would save it. Zetton emerged. The golden horned beast surrendered. Earth called the victor Beast Lord. Zuo Shanke looked down from the darkness. Luo Feng received a replacement destiny. A cosmic identity card placed Zetton inside human civilization's legal system. A scouting ship supplied coordinates, and 1,000 planets disappeared. Every step had made Yun Shen stronger. Every step had also moved Treeving farther from the ordinary person he once remembered being. That was the question beneath the power fantasy. How much could a man devour before man became only a memory? Yun Shen had not asked himself to stop. He had asked only what came next. The answer was already waiting inside the virtual universe. Millions of geniuses, countless spectators. Pride gathered from across human territory. A battlefield where nobody knew the quiet contestant named Zetton had once fed on the despair of an entire planet. Before that stage opened, however, the Black Dragon Mountain Empire had begun hearing another story. Not about a contestant, not about Earth, about absence. A family had vanished. 1,000 worlds had disappeared. No attacker had claimed responsibility. No survivor could identify the method. And somewhere on a planet no one connected to the event, the creature responsible was finishing another evolution. The Golden Horned Beast had once made humanity believe it was facing the end of the world. Nolan Shan had learned that stronger civilizations could face the same feeling. Neither understood the truth until too late. Yun Shen was not climbing the food chain anymore. He was beginning to change what the food chain meant. At first, no one reacted. Cosmic civilization operated on timescales where a few hours of communication silence meant nothing. Worlds went offline. Ships traveled. Networks suffered delays. Administrators missed reports. Then one day passed. Then two. Then three. The silence became suspicious. Investigators arrived. What they found did not make sense. Ice Blue Star existed only as destroyed remnants. That was horrifying but understandable. Powerful attacks could destroy planets. The subordinate worlds were different. They were gone. Not conquered. Not ruined. Gone. More than 1,000 inhabited planets had been removed so completely that their disappearance looked like an error in astronomical records. The Nolan Shan family, one of the great powers within its regional empire, had effectively ceased to exist. A few members who had been traveling elsewhere survived only. Because Yun Shen did not know where every individual happened to be, they had no idea what happened. They could not identify the attacker. They could not explain why no warning had spread through the family network. Even domain lord-level experts examining the reports felt uncomfortable. Destroying a family was one thing. Destroying it so quickly that more than 1,000 worlds failed to transmit a coherent alarm suggested something else entirely. The ruler of the surrounding empire chose the safest political response: spread the news. Public attention created protection. If the unknown attacker remained nearby, secrecy benefited it. Once surrounding powers knew an entire family had vanished, any future attack would draw faster scrutiny from stronger organizations. The strategy was logical. It also did exactly what Yun Shen had wanted to postpone. People began asking questions. Who destroyed the Nolan Shan family? What kind of power could erase life planets instead of merely conquering them? Why had the attack happened without warning? Was this revenge? A new faction? A wandering strongman? A special life form? A disaster moving through inhabited space? No answer existed. Yun Shen remained hidden in the Himalayas, refining the energy produced by the destruction. He did not yet know which rumor would eventually reach the larger universe first. He knew only that his first real cosmic hunt had succeeded. The solar system remained protected. His identity had not been exposed through the Nolan Shan invasion. His strength was rising again. And somewhere beyond Earth, entire civilizations had begun talking about worlds that disappeared without leaving corpses. Yun Shen had entered the original universe quietly. He was not going to remain quiet for long. That was why the next battlefield mattered more than another easy victory. Earth had already taught Yun Shen how despair behaved when billions watched one crisis together. Nolan Shan had taught him how much richer the emotion became when it came from a stronger mind. The virtual universe promised both scale and quality at once. For the first time, Yun Shen could place himself before countless talented people without physically entering their worlds. He could test whether virtual defeat produced real despair, whether spectators created usable emotional links, and whether a frightening reputation could spread farther than his body ever needed to travel. If the answer was yes, his method of evolution would change forever. He would no longer need to search blindly for prey across empty space. Civilization would gather the prey for him, rank it, advertise it, broadcast it, and invite everyone else to watch. The thought would have sounded ridiculous to anyone who still believed tournaments existed only to crown champions. Yun Shen did not care about the crown. He cared about what happened inside a proud warrior when the warrior realized every plan had failed. That was the true resource he had discovered beneath the Mariana trench. Not fear alone. The collapse of certainty. The golden horned beast had given him the first perfect sample. Nolan Shan had confirmed the pattern. The universe contained beings with confidence built across centuries, bloodlines, victories, territories, and civilizations. Every one of them could become more valuable at the exact moment that confidence broke. Yun Shen intended to find out how far that principle could go. For now, he remained hidden, patient enough to let rumors move without chasing them. The next evolution was close. The next public stage was approaching. Luo Feng was growing. Zuo Shan Qi was watching from somewhere beyond reach. And the first cosmic powers had begun noticing that entire worlds could disappear. The story had started with humanity asking whether it could survive one monster. It now ended this section with the universe unknowingly approaching a much larger question. What happens when the monster learns that despair itself can be hunted? The answer would not come from raw strength alone. Yun Shen had already learned that overwhelming power could end a battle too quickly. The best harvest came from contrast. Hope before failure, confidence before helplessness, certainty before the impossible. That meant future fights would become psychological hunts as much as physical ones. It also meant the human soul inside him still mattered. A mindless beast could destroy. Yun Shen could understand what destruction meant to the victim, predict the reaction, and decide exactly when to reveal another layer of power. Humanity had given legendary Hyper Zetton something more dangerous than another ability. It had given the monster perspective. Whether that perspective would keep him human or simply make him a smarter predator remained unanswered. Earth saw a guardian. Nolan Shan saw a cosmic disaster. Yun Shen saw both descriptions and rejected the need to choose between them. He would protect what he considered his. He would devour what threatened it. And if the rest of the universe mistook that rule for kindness, cruelty, or instinct, it could keep guessing until he was strong enough that the answer no longer mattered. By then, perhaps the name Zetton would no longer describe a strange beast from a forgotten blue planet, but a warning passed between civilizations whenever stars vanished and nobody could explain what had eaten them.